Good evening, everybody, councillors and officers. Please, it's a really warm night. If anybody wants to take their jacket off, ties off, please feel free. I wish I could, but please, to be comfortable. Okay, can I ask Councillor Jackson to say prayers, please? Oh, I didn't put this in.
Let us pray. Oh God, our Father, we thank you for the privilege of prayer, of being able to speak to you about the concerns that we have. And we pray for your blessing on this meeting tonight, especially as it's the first full meeting since the election of the Mayor and the Mayoress. And we do pray for them and the Deputy Mayor and Deputy Mayoress that they may have a successful year. And we thank you that we have this privilege of serving the people of Blackpool. We thank you that you are a God of justice and a God of compassion. And we pray, Lord, that we may have that in our hearts as we lead in our leadership of the council in every single way. Every single member, that we may offer compassion to the residents of this town and offer justice for them too. We think especially this day of the people of the Windrush people who came to this country looking forward to a great move forward. And we thank you for the great contributions they made to this country in many, many ways. But we're also ashamed at the way many of them were treated. And, oh Lord, we do pray for justice there, that these people should be given the justice they deserve, and that we may honour the invitation we gave to them to come and live in our country. We pray also for the armed forces this week, recognising the great sacrifice many make when they join the forces, doing a job that many of us would not like to do, protecting us, upholding us in many different ways. And, oh Lord, we ask you to be with them this week as they remember the days of wars many years ago, and that they too may know our compassion for them. We think of members who recently have gone through times of sadness, and members who are not with us this evening due to illness, and we pray your blessing upon them. So, Lord, we offer this prayer in Jesus' name, and if you feel able, will you join in the Lord's Prayer? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Amen.
Is that on now?
Yes, that's the red.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I just ask councillors to be seated in the seats allocated then for voting purposes? And can I just remind councillors to turn on their microphones while speaking and turn them off again when finished, otherwise you won't be heard on the broadcast. So have we any apologies for absence? Okay, no? Okay, declarations of interest. Councillors need to declare their interest in items on the agenda, and can I remind councillors that they should declare the type of interest they have, the agenda item and reference in question, and the reason they have an interest. I'll start. I have a personal interest in item 9A as a member of the Supporters Trust. Okay, any? Councillor Owen?
This is a motion, Madam Mayor. No, a personal interest as a member of the Blackpool Supporters Trust.
Okay, sorry.
Same declaration, Eddie Mayor.
Okay, anybody else? Councillor Coleman? Was that you, Mrs. Coleman? Did you indicate then, Debbie? Sorry, no, sorry. Councillor Coleman? No, thought you saw it moving your arms. No other declarations of interest? Okay. Okay, so minutes of the meeting held on the 18th of May. Can we agree that was a true record? Agreed? Okay. Okay, so just a couple of announcements. Just following on from Councillor Jackson's prayers. Today, the Blackpool Tower will be lit up in red, gold, green and blue to mark Windrush Day. In Blackpool, we're honoured to mark Windrush Day, and we recognise and thank those who arrived on the Emperor Windrush for their contribution they made to Britain's recovery following the Second World War and have contributed to make ever since. Also, can I just mention a special group of young people from the House of Wings Creative Workshop on Reeds Avenue. The group took part in the Queen's Jubilee pageant in the Mall. Apparently, they made a great impression and did Blackpool proud. Their attitude and behaviour was exemplary. And following their performance in the Mall, they have been asked to perform at Notting Hill Carnival on August bank holiday. I think we should all be extremely proud of them, and I'll be meeting up with them to say my special thanks and personally congratulate them. So item 4, executive reports. So the first one is the corporate report, and I believe it's Councillor Williams to present.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I'm a beginner, you just bear with me. Get the page. Okay, page 9. Okay.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Just virtually a comment on the full fibre and wireless in Blackpool, which is in itself great news. I'm fully aware of this because my son is actually designing it. He's designing most of Great Britain, him and his team at the moment. But what bothers me most are these awful big cabinets that we've seen and these incredibly tall posts. This is not advanced technology. This is old technology. This is cables coming over telegraph poles. The fibre one, which is talked about in this report, is in BT ducting, which is already there. And that will be unseen. It'll be invisible. But this, I think it's not City Fibre, it's someone else. And these grotesque cabinets which we've seen, I've already asked, because there's not graffiti, but it's advertising on them, Lady Mayor. And I think they look terribly unsightly, and I'd ask the leader if she could have a look at this and find out if there's any breach on street furniture advertising. Thank you.
Okay. Page 10, any questions? Page, oh, sorry, Councillor Galley, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It was just as regards the overspend in children's services, Madam Mayor. My question to the leader really is the impact that's going to have in terms of the medium-term financial plan, and at what point do we have to either change the medium-term financial plan to compensate for that, or the children's financial strategy?
Okay, Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I think these figures endorse what this side of the chamber has been saying for years. This is serious. £8 million overspent. I know the demand is high, but we're just not getting into the problem. Regardless of what's been said in the past, regardless of what promises have been made, and regardless of who you want to blame for the situation, it is a financial problem that is going to cripple us. We really must look at alternative ways of thinking, alternative ways of looking after our children without compromising any of their safety or the need for help. But if we continue like this, Lady Mayor, this is not only going to have a serious effect on how we look after local children and how we look after children in care, it's going to affect the whole council. These people who supply these out-of-town placements, their prices aren't going to go down. They're only going to go one way. So this next year will be even bigger figure and an even bigger loss unless, and I'm prepared to sit down collectively with anyone, we can find a real solution to this problem. Thank you, Lady.
Thank you. Page 11. Okay, Councillor Mitchell.
Regarding council budgets and funding, I'd like to speak specifically on Labour councillors' incessant complaints regarding the mystical figure of 1.4 billion in cuts from the government. I don't know where this figure has come from, and I don't truly believe that they all do either. but they continue to blurt it out one after the other because it sounds dramatic. So I started pestering the finance team. What they are trying to state is a government cut is actually a bizarre accumulation of apparent budget pressures. In layman's terms, a budget cut is a smaller amount of money to spend, and a budget gap is the difference between what you would like to spend and what you have to spend. For example, if I'm earning £100 and my boss gives me a pay rise to £110, my budget has increased by £10. I hope we can all agree. However, if I wanted to spend £150, then I'm £40 short. That would be a budget gap. It would be completely incorrect to say I've had a £40 budget cut when we just agreed I'd had a rise. The logic gets more ridiculous as the Labour councillors aren't just happy to add up these apparent bad budget cuts, but they accumulate them year on year. For simplicity again, the £40 shortfall is able to morph into a £2,200 cut 10 years later. This is how they create the sum of £1.4 billion in cuts when our spending power is approximately £160 million a year. Ridiculously, we'd have had nothing to spend over the last 10 years if this £1.4 billion in cuts figure was true. I also wondered why the councillors didn't use figures prior to 2010. Perhaps there had been no gaps or pressures under the previous Labour government. Somewhat unsurprisingly, there have been budget pressures every single year the council has been in existence as a unitary authority since the late 90s. According to the logic of the councillors opposite, that means cuts and austerity every single year under a Labour government. If the council wanted to pave the streets with gold, because of the asinine budget pressure accumulation method they are using, even if the government provided the funding, they would need to provide an additional 200 million above and beyond the council's desires just to prevent apparent further accumulated cuts. It's utterly ridiculous. The facts are that this council has received more money year on year for the last 5 years. It has more money to spend this year than in its history, received one of the largest town deals in the country, 8.6 million through the Get Building Fund, hundreds of millions in COVID support, investment in the hospital, millions to tackle homelessness, support for the local health recovery, has been made an education opportunity area and an investment area, and was highlighted by the government as one of 20 regions to receive King's Cross style regeneration. The list goes on.
Thank you. Page 12, any questions? Page 13. Okay, Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you. In preparing my question today, I referred to the Sandcastle, and I was going to ask the source of the rumour. It's actually been published in the Gazette. That the Sandcastle will be taken over by Merlin.
Sorry.
Coming to the question, I'm sure it will be answered. I've been told today that there's been a tender process.
Right, Councillor Mitchell, that is not relating to that item.
Page 13, Sandcastle, isn't it? Yeah, Sandcastle.
But you are talking about a business arrangement that it's confidential item relating to that board.
I was told there was a tender process and the tender being advertised. If my question can't be answered, then that is of course the case, but I don't think I should be disallowed from asking the question.
You can ask the question about the tender process and that can be answered.
You can ask a question about the tender process, but that is all. We can't go into any business.
Thank you. I was told there was a tender process as to who would take over the management, and I'm told that the tender was advertised for only 7 days. That's what I've been told. I'm sure I should be told whether or not it's true. I should be told why, if it really was the case, the timescale was so short.
Okay, anybody else on page 13? Okay, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not going to go into the Sandcastle issue. I just want to sort of say comments regarding the previous Managing Director, John Charles. There's a big report in there saying about the good work he's done. I just want to say that I have, since 2013, I've worked on the board at the Sandcastle for the last 9 years and recently been reappointed as the chair of the board. John has shown dedicated support, hard work over the 25 years of being the MD of the Sandcastle. He's built business up being from a small sort of leisure area to a fantastic, well-known UK water park. John has built up a strong team within the water park over the years. Some of the staff have still been there, 15, 20 years. And they're dedicated in their work they're doing there. What I'm going to do is sort of say John is leaving the water park in a strong position with a strong leadership team And I want to just wish all his best for the future, whatever he does. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I echo sentiment about John. He's done an amazing job. It's the only arm's length company we've got which has shown a decent, if not admirable, profit. So why are you getting rid of him?
Right.
You're not? Well, I don't think
Can
he's
you
very
ask the
happy
question?
about going, or he wasn't. So I think it's a shame that we're losing John. He's been a credit to this council, and I think we really should have considered keeping him on and milking this situation, if you like, sweat the asset. It's a success, and we're going into unknown territory. And I listened to all the applause and the accolades of John, but let's face it, he didn't really want to go.
Okay, anybody else on page 14? Okay, page 15. Okay, Councillor Clapham.
Mine's on the table on page 15. It was NT10. Very disappointed to see that we had a target of 156 apprenticeships to be created within the procurement system, and only 8 have actually emerged. I thought one of the main things about procurement, apart from costs, value for money, is increasing employment within the borough. Excuse me, especially young people. And it looks as though we've failed on that front. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Page 15.
Williams.
Sorry.
Sorry, Lady Mayor, same page and same issues. On NT13, page 15, meaningful work placements that pay minimum or national wage. The target was 10, which I think is a reasonable target. The actual was 1. And how much did that 1 cost of this budget? And finally, initiatives to be taken to tackle homelessness. 40 initiatives were targeted. Only 4 have been delivered. It's okay making plans, but you've got to stick to them and you've got to get results if you're going to be successful. Thank you.
Okay. Nobody else on page 15. Page 16. Okay, general questions, comments? Okay, Councillor Coleman.
Just one, Lady Mayor, thank you. Just a few months ago we were mentioning a Blackpool medal for the youth of Blackpool. I wonder if any further progress has been made, Lady Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
A Blackpool medal for young people.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Councillor Williams, are you responding? Thank you.
So, thank you. So, I am on. Councillor Williams, the Cabinet posts, yeah, I agree, they are unsightly at best. Permitted development means that they don't have to apply for planning permission. In the rare occasions that they do, planning can only interfere in terms of siting, so maybe move them less conspicuously, you know, our hands are tied. I agree it's outdated technology, but that really needs to come from central government to, because obviously it's going to cost these companies more to site underground and to develop those technologies. So that needs to come really from central government to do that. And we are looking at this issue of the unsightly, again, advertising on it. They've never had permission for it. There's an ongoing dialogue between Councillor Brooks and Highways with these companies. So, but also planning are looking at what we can do around that, because I agree it's not acceptable. Councillor Galley, the overspend on children's, the medium-term financial plan that's being reviewed, and it will go to scrutiny so that there can be a real deep dive into that and proper oversight of that. Councillor Williams, yes, it is a significant overspend. As you know, the numbers of our children were declining. Unfortunately, then in December we had a large number of larger families. There's also this issue about the residential placements, 25% increase, and that is something that we can't control locally. You'll have seen the most recent report that has come out into children's social care, recommends widespread, wholesale changes to, and particularly in relation to residential care and the costs of it and how that is managed, and that needs to be done. We are constantly looking at the best, way to protect our children. We had another mini inspection last week. That was the last of a number of successful visits from Ofsted, and I'm assured that Vicky, our DCS, who now has a full high team, senior team of management in place, that all is being done that is necessary. But obviously, as I say, we keep that under review. The medium-term plan, financial plan will be reviewed and will be going to scrutiny. So, Councillor Mitchell, yeah. I mean, I don't really know where to start with this, because what seems ridiculous is not actually grasping. You can pluck out facts of whichever, but you're completely ignoring over 10 years the impact of inflation, increase in services, increase in demand. We've added to the list of services we provide public health, amongst other things. So, and in the first year of austerity, there were bigger cuts in 1 year than there had been in the previous 10. So, it is 1.4 billion, and and to try and sort of pluck her out that, and we haven't even broached on how this funding that you say that we've had, even your own government, in terms of the levelling up discussions, has accepted that Blackpool has been massively affected by the cuts, which have been disproportionate. So, yeah, I stand by the 1.4 billion. I think if you want any more information and detail, then we'll try and explain it to you. Sorry, I was going to sit down then. I've had enough. Sorry. Councillor Mitchell, the process of the procurement started. It hasn't concluded yet. When it does, then obviously there will be an announcement made. Thank you, Councillor Smith, for speaking about John Childs. He has done an amazing job at the Sandcastle and shown great loyalty, and we're incredibly grateful to him. I don't know if any of you were there at the BBLG, the breakfast meeting, where John spoke incredibly passionately about his support for Project Search. And so not only has he turned around a profitable business, but he has made it an inclusive place to work. And it shows great credit to how he has run that business, but also supported staff and also the wider community. And we're very grateful to him. And we haven't got rid of him. We've not asked, we've not removed him. Councillor Clapham, yeah, the apprenticeship figure, I too was disappointed with, particularly when we're getting bits of information around the apprenticeships having started and the numbers, because this is based over the last 2 years, which show it's 2 years of COVID. I'm not a great one for blaming everything on COVID, but in that particular instance, in terms of the companies, the impact that has had on, particularly on construction, so there just hasn't been the availability on that and work placements. And Councillor Williams, yeah, absolutely, we know we need to deliver on this, and we fully expect, I know Councillor Taylor will come on to this as well. Absolutely, we are determined to see through all those targets in social value and to deliver on them. It's incredibly important that we do so, not least for our young people. Councillor Coleman, I'm not sure about where the discussion is about, back for medal for use, but absolutely would support it. Thank you. Or do I need to bring in Councillor Taylor?
Councillor Taylor, do you want to?
I only wanted to say, that the issue of social value has been increasingly important to us and a lot of other people over recent years. We've now got a new charter, a new approach, which allows us to do things that we weren't allowed to do before in terms of the contract process and how social value, how we have the importance to direct value to Blackpool is part of any procurement process. It has been a difficult period to get it going, but I'm very happy at the moment the way things are moving and some of the contracts that we're entering into at the present time, where it's not just that we are making progress, but it's encouraging that the people who are winning the contract are so keen to do it. They're so enthusiastic about the very idea. And I've been having a lot of discussion with them about that. So I think we're on a good road It may be disappointed, I suppose, if you want to put it that way. It is a long and difficult process, but we're making good progress, and I will make sure, as much as I can, that that progress continues.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Okay, so if we're moving on to the People's Portfolio, and I believe it's Councillor Farrell to present.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy to present the report and take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so page 17, any questions? Page 18. Sorry. I'm going to have to get some bifocals because I can't see. Sorry, Councillor.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Mine's on the community engagement. I'd just like to applaud the voluntary work that's done by all the Friends groups in the park. And I've had over 10 years working with the Friends on Cavendish Road Park in Bispam. But what I do find is very disheartening is the level of vandalism that we seem to get in waves on the parks. And it really does need eradicating because it's sickening for the volunteers who plant flower beds and do all the other little jobs that make such a difference to have it wiped out because you've got some youths tearing through within a few minutes that can absolutely ruin it. I just wondered if there is any strategy on the way to improve the security of our parks. Thank you.
Thank you. Page 19. Page 20. Okay, Councillor Mitchell.
At the risk of sounding like some of the older councillors in this town hall, many years ago when I was a young lad, I first picked up a tennis racket on the courts of Stanley Park. It became my whole life growing up, and without tennis I wouldn't have achieved what I have or be where I am today. Though they were far from in good condition when I first played, it saddened me seeing them in their current state. I am delighted the government and the LTA are investing in our tennis courts. Tennis has the potential to be a very accessible sport. Once you have a racket and a ball, you can keep fit, have fun, and make some brilliant friends for little to no cost. This is more a comment than a question, but I hope the council and our residents see the value in these repairs and make the most of it.
Thank you. Councillor Clapham.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Yes, the same subject. In terms of Cavendish Road Park, we've worked very hard with the late Lily Henderson, Councillor Lily Henderson, on lawn tennis through the LTA, and the initiative between Highfield and Bispam has been great. I do welcome the money that's going to be invested. It's certainly been a long time coming. It's a little bit askew in terms of the timing, because the peak for young people tearing up to the tennis courts is when Wimbledon's on, which is, you know, within a fortnight or so. So by the time we've got the investment there, we'll have lost this season. And talking about lost seasons, if someone could organise the grass to be cut and the courts to be marked out and the net erected at Cavendish, we'd be in with a chance of having some young people in there playing tennis. And I don't declare an interest in terms of tennis. It's not my game at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clapham. Councillor Williams.
Yes, thank you. It was just in relation to the tennis courts issue, because I attended the one of the many school sports events that was at Stanley Park. I went to the netball, and I was talking to Laura Ivinson there, and she is a great tennis player and still loves playing it. And she had actually gone down to Claremont Park to play, and couldn't get a court. It was busy, and that was, you know, which we're very pleased to hear, because we'd organised that, you know, the tennis courts pre-COVID to be redone, so that's great. But she did find a spot at Cavendish, so she managed to play on the courts up there. But I do know that they are looking not just at Stanley Park, but also to invest, maybe repainting the lines at Claremont Park, but also specifically at Cavendish. They are going to deal with that. And in terms of the safety issue, obviously we've got CCTV at Stanley Park, and in relation, we've had some lighting put in at Claremont Park, and I think there is, within the community safety aspect of it, there is there's always been a bit of a resistance to putting lighting in parks, because it has been seen as you attract people in. I've always thought the opposite of that, and I think that is, you know, that sort of mindset is kind of changing. But of course, all these things take time and cost significant sums of money. But yes, we need to, you know, to work on that. And in relation to that, the youth ASB, there is an absolute focus between the council and the police and the voluntary sector as to how we can deal with this and get it, you know, under some kind of control, but absolutely has a focus and a real determination to resolve that issue.
Did you indicate, Councillor Taylor? Yes, Councillor Taylor and then Councillor Williams.
Yes, I mean, this is a subject very much dear to my heart too, and I support that everything that's been said about it. It is a fine sport, one that perhaps we haven't done enough in the past. But I know that years ago, and I'm one of those oldies that always keep going on about the past, but years ago there were some tennis courts erected on Claremont Park, and they just, after a time, for many, many years, they've just been not used. They've just still been there, but nobody does anything with them. There's no nets or anything like that, but they were originally tennis courts. And so there's a lot of proposals that come forward over the years about what we might put on these tennis courts, roller skating type of things and so forth. And they all basically came to nothing. And we were having a meeting one day, and I said, I have a really good novel idea about what we might do on the tennis courts. People said, well, what is it? I said, play tennis on it. That caused a considerable shock because that hadn't been actually thought of, actually playing tennis on them. But it was taken up, and we have got them renewed now, and we're getting some cash, and we're working with the schools. Some way to go yet, but I think it's really encouraging. I think it's a good sport, and I'm very pleased that the council are doing so much in that area as we do in so many other areas too. So, yeah, I just want to say that.
Who would know? Future Wimbledon winner from Claremont. Eh?
Absolutely.
Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I think we all owe a huge debt of gratitude to Councillor Lily Henderson. She'd worked very closely with the Lawn Tennis Association, and I think it's probably through her work that this move is happening. I'm pleased to see any increase in sport. Tennis is not my game either. Tiddlywinks is more style for me at the moment, but I think it's great if we encourage people to play. The same as we'd encourage people to play golf, because there's a great deal of interest in youth golf at the moment, with the Open being on, and we don't seem to be doing much of that either, and that's a huge opportunity we're missing. But mainly and firstly, I'd like to say a massive thank you to Councillor Lily Henderson for the work she's done in regarding the LTA. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Collett.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Mine's just a quick one. I'd like to say, a thank you to the group that have redeveloped the skate park at Stanley Park, because it's not a council. It wasn't council funded, it was community funded, and that is an amazing facility. It's I don't know if anyone's been back down. Councillor Blackburn once said to me, there's nothing worse than watching an old bloke on a scooter to put people off. No, when I was on my scooter. But it's amazing. It's really, really quite good. And I just think all the effort that's gone into there, all the funding, like I said, all the money raising from the group that's put that, and that will last a legacy. That skate park, it's better than anything that we ever did in the past. And I just think that group should be congratulated and just put on record. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Collett. Page 21. Okay, Councillor. Yeah.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Just on the bottom of page 21 about the Blackpool Autism Partnership. I've had a worrying case recently for a couple of elderly residents, basically about the rise in private companies taking over semi-detached houses, housing autistic people. Now, you know, they've got to live somewhere, but what I'm saying is the regulation of these. I've had some horrific photographs of human excrement being smeared on the windows, thrown out, nappies being thrown in the garden, etc., etc. This couple are in the 70s. They've had to endure this. for over a number of years. It only came to light, they mentioned it to me, but they've been putting up with this for 5 or 6 years. The couple in question, they fostered kids and they welcomed them with open arms when they came, but this company sort of like took liberties with their goodwill and put more severe cases into the property. We've only just managed. They've vacated the property now, but like I say, what from the council point of view, to stop this happening again. I mean, this couple, they were smashing wardrobes up during the middle of the night. They couldn't have the grandchildren stay over, and it really was a harrowing experience for them. And I don't think that people with severe autism should be housed in semi-detached properties within the community. So what I'd like to say is what sort of regulation, what is being done by the council to stop this happening again, because it's just going to move to, create another nightmare situation.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Scott.
Thank you.
Page 22. Councillor Mrs Scott.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've spoken before in the Chamber regarding retrofitted cavity wall insulation. So this is in relation to Cosy Homes in Lancashire. It's great that we can provide first-time central heating and replacement boilers for residents, new doors and windows and so on. But I would hope that there will be adequate oversight and appropriate surveying on any property in which it's proposed to install cavity wall insulation to prevent the need for remedial action to be taken subsequently and fought for by the homeowner in properties that should never have it installed, and there are quite a lot of those in this town. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Councillor Williams.
Same subject. The Chief Exec will confirm that I've been personally dealing with the situation of external wall insulation in the south end of Blackpool. A terrible case. I'm not going to go into detail because it might be sub judice, and it's a situation that nobody would wish for. But I can tell you that I am concerned in which the way this particular family have been affected and to a certain extent treated. If the council are recommending installation teams, which they did, then surely they have a responsibility in ensuring that the job is done properly. In this case, the particular installation team no longer have authority to install external wall insulation. It's become a very difficult situation, and as the Chief Exec knows, I've requested a further meeting. It really is a problem. It doesn't do what it says on the tin. And we introduced this, I think, in 2013, 2014, and we managed the scheme. I believe the same firm, we now have multiple complaints to the council about schemes in the Foxhall area. I don't know how many. Perhaps the leader might be able to tell us, and how serious the situation is, and if the council are liable in any way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Can I just ask a question, Lady Mayor? Whose portfolio does Sea Defence come under?
I think it's Councillor Hugo.
Councillor Hugo. Oh. Can I ask a question about that when its time comes?
Yeah, yes, because I think Councillor Hugo's actually under this port. She's people and places, aren't you, Councillor Hugo, tonight?
I think I'm across to.
She's across to, yeah, because Councillor Hugo will respond to any parks issues. And on the next one, Councillor Hugo will respond to any water issues. Right. Water, you know, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Do you want to keep it till the people portfolio? Yeah. Okay. Okay then. So we'll respond. I do believe it's Councillor Farrell to respond and Councillor Hugo. Oh, sorry, general questions, anybody?
Oh, I'll sit back.
Get that. General questions, anybody? Okay. Sorry, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Mitchell, I absolutely agree with your comments about tennis. It's going to be great for our young children and our, for that and our community for our health and well-being. Councillor Clapham, I will get your court sorted out for you. I'll ask for them to get your grass cut. Councillor Scott, regarding housing for people with autism,
Can you send me the details so I can provide you with a proper response and that I can look into the issues for you? Please, thank you very much for that. Councillor Scott and Councillor Williams, I absolutely know nothing about cavity wall insulation, I'll be really honest. I don't know if Councillor Hugo, she's the lady that will answer the questions for that, but, so I apologise, and I'll pass over to Councillor Hugo.
Thank you, Councillor Farrell. Yeah, the parks is now under my portfolio as well, so a bit of crossover between leisure and parks with tennis. But thank you for all your comments. I've taken on board, and I think everything's been covered either by the leader or Councillor Farrell. Apart from, I wanted to make a point about Wimbledon and a concern when all this investment was going into tennis in the town. We don't want it to be just for Wimbledon. So it doesn't concern me too much that we'll miss the Wimbledon season this year, because we want it to be something that people get involved in all the time, not just for the 2 weeks excitement around the Wimbledon. Also, to echo Councillor Tony Williams' comments about Lily Henderson, and I would like to thank Lily Henderson for the work that she put in, and anybody else that has made this come to fruition. And to thank Councillor Collett for his comments about the skate park, and the community have been massively involved with that, and I'm glad that the council have been able to work with them to support that. On to cavity wall insulation. I might stand to be corrected, and I will check with the officers, but this report, I'm fairly certain, refers to insulation, as in loft insulation and other forms of insulation, not cavity wall insulation. I remember, Councillor Scott, you bringing this to council some time ago, and I've had absolute reassurance from council officers that lessons have been learned in relation to cavity wall insulation and all the horrors that it's caused for people. So I'll double check, but the report doesn't say cavity wall, it just says insulation, and I've assumed the opposite to you, so we'll get that clarified. And in response to Councillor Tony Williams, I'm pleased to hear that the Chief Exec is dealing with that matter, and I'm sure that you'll get the information that you've requested. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No, we'll just let them present the report. It comes under the place report. Okay, so if we move on to the place report, and I do believe that's been presented by Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm presenting the place report, but beforehand I just wanted to do a few words regarding the part in the report regarding Jeff Reeves, who passed away this year, earlier on this year. So I just want to, I've worked with Jeff for a number of years since got given the business portfolio. Just I've written down a statement, so I'm going to read from here if you don't mind, so I don't miss anything off. Just want to say a few words about a true gentleman. I would never meet a nicer person. I've worked with Jeff since 2015, when I was given the business portfolio. Since 2012, the Get Started team, with Jeff being at the heart of it, has helped more than 5,000 Blackpool residents with their business ideas, looking to help themselves, with over 1,000 eventually setting up their own business. A couple of larger ones that have helped in Blackpool are Charbu, and also we probably recognise Link Size and Graphics with the startup business, with the startup team, and they're very successful across the town, even with Blackpool Council. Jeff Passion was with marketing. His well-known sales masterclass was well attended during any sessions he had. Jeff's passion to deliver better support and encourage the future business persons, leaders develop their business as that Blackpool Enterprise Week. In 2017, we had over 100 attending that event. Jeff was well known across Blackpool. You couldn't walk across go to town without being stopped and chatted to and asked questions about what he'd done and how he's helped those businesses over the years. Jeff eventually retired in 21 last year, to spend more time with his wife, Linda, and their two daughters, Emma and Kathy, and their grandchildren. Jeff will be missed by everyone, and the echoes of what he'd done will be recognised through Blackpool forever. Thank you. I just wanted to then take the questions.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Okay, so if we move on to questions, page 23. Oh, sorry, Councillor Mrs Scott.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whilst acknowledging all the great work that was done during the Jubilee celebrations, including the laser beams from the 3 separate locations, there has been some disappointment expressed, certainly to me by residents, that we didn't have the type of beacon that other locations had, the traditional fire beacon. And of the 3 locations we had, perhaps in the future it could be considered that become part of any future beacon lighting ceremonies. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Page 24. Page 25. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can't let it pass because it's the item about Will Britton. I was privileged as the Cabinet member to work with Will for quite a long while. And he was a very modest man in many ways. He didn't blow his own trumpet, he just got on with the job and did a fantastic job. And I think he inspired the people who were in his department very well. I think the young people there who had jobs working alongside Will were very impressed with the way that he did his work and learned from him. And it mentions in there about the local council road innovation group, and I was very privileged to welcome the first conference for that group in Blackpool several years back. And Will was respected throughout the whole of the country. The Department for Transport in London, they held him in high esteem, and he did a tremendous work for our town. I think we're very privileged in Blackpool to have some great officers, and I sometimes get a bit depressed when I hear people criticising officers in a derogatory way. I've one of my constituents who doesn't have a good word to say for any officer, and hardly any councillor either, and really slates the lot of us in everything we do. But I think we do have some tremendously good officers who do a tremendous job, and Will was certainly one of them, and I wish him all the very best in his retirement. I always know when he used to go on holiday, one of the things he did every time he went away on holiday was inspect the roads in other countries and see what he could learn from the highways there and bring these schemes back to Blackpool if they were suitable. And he learnt a lot from going abroad, and I think we learnt a lot from Will. So I'd like to send him my congratulations, and I hope the whole council's congratulations, and thank him for his work that he did here in Blackpool. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Callow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to endorse all that Councillor Jackson has said about Will Britton. I know that my husband Peter was first introduced to him over 20 years ago when we had some very bad flooding up on Norbreck, particularly on Mossam Lane. And Will put his Wellingtons on, and Peter did, because Peter was a lot younger and fitter in those days. And that was his introduction to Will Britton, who was just one of the boys. He just got on with the job, and he just buckled down. And Peter was so impressed with him. And of course, like Councillor Jackson, over the years, we've both been very impressed with Will. I do wish him a very long and happy retirement. I'm very sorry that he's going, because he will certainly be missed by us all, but he does deserve a long and happy retirement. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Callow. Page 26. Councillor Mitchell.
Regarding the airport enterprise zone, can you guarantee that no developments at the enterprise zone will affect the possibility of a return of commercial passenger flights to Blackpool Airport? I know Labour councillors loathe the idea of it, and you can all huff and puff, but the airport has the economic potential to be a crucial part of not only the sub-economy of the Fylde, but the economy of the whole of Lancashire. These are not my words, not the words of Conservative colleagues, but the words of defeated former Labour MP Gordon Marsden when discussing commercial flights. Was he wrong?
Any further on page 26, page 27? Oh, still on, sorry, Councillor Scott.
Yes, just referring to the article about the Hounshill extension proceeding to plan, and also about the discussions that are currently ongoing with a potential new department store
retailer to replace the former Debenhams department store. This has been ongoing for quite some time, and I know the answer will probably get it's commercially sensitive, but we're building a massive new complex next to it, and the flagship of the Hounshill Centre has been vacant since Debenhams departed, so we're not getting with the council owning the Hounshill Centre, we're not getting the revenue from leasing it out, and then we're building another big complex, and I believe the cinema owners are in discussion about fitting it out. Now, we're going to can I have, and a lot of the public and the people who pay the council tax will want to know, is this going to be another white elephant that's going to be left empty for years? Thank you.
Councillor Clapham, did you indicate then? Or was it, no, it was Councillor Galley, sorry. Page 26, Councillor Galley. Right, okay. Right. Nobody else on page 26.
Councillor Stansfield.
26. Councillor Stansfield.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. It's with regard to the rejuvenated Abingdon Street Market. This last weekend I was in Southport. Now, they've rejuvenated their market into a licensed premises and food hall, and I'm hoping that this is going to go the same way as that has done. It was absolutely packed. It was a great draw in the centre, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what this does with Blackpool Town Centre, and hoping that is of the standard that Southport's got. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, page 27, Councillor Galley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It just refers to the line in the EDGE project on page 27. And I wanted to applaud whoever's written this report for their transparency, because I think it's a really important line. And it's forecast costs exceeds the budget. And if anything, that represents the world we're about to enter. And there's, for all sorts of different reasons, supply chain, inflation, labour shortages. I don't suspect that that line will be used just for that project. So the question for the portfolio holder, Madam Mayor, is what assurance can we have that there is a plan in place to manage those costs, manage those supply issues, and manage those labour shortages?
Okay, thank you. Councillor Williams, Tony.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Staying on the same subject, I noticed in this report there's no mention of the Central car park development, apart from a mention last council that the car park on the car park is being built. With the rising cost of materials, especially in metals and raw materials and other associated products, if you like, and the cost of electricity and fuel, I think we're in serious doubt that this development will not go ahead. I think it'll be too cost inhibitive. And if it is going ahead, who's going to fill the gap of funding that will be necessary? We've heard 300 million. If you take a percentage of increase on that, are we going to see 400 million, 500 million? Who's paying for it?
Okay, thank you, Councillor Williams. Any more on page 27? Okay, page 28. Councillor Walsh.
To Showtown, Lady Mayor, this report focuses on the inside of that building. I just want to focus on the outside of that building. Walking past that building every day as a black monolithic building, it looks an absolute mess. The authority is investing millions of pounds into that building. We've already spoke at full council about the rent that we're going to be paying, £250,000 per year to keep that building, to keep the museum in there. If you walk past that building today, parts of it are rusting already. So the question is, parts of it are rusted already. There is no cleaning programme in place, it appears. Some of that the building is already operational, so you have the spyglass on the promenade and you also have the restaurant on the promenade. So the sides of the building are a complete mess. I'm just wondering, Lady Mayor, what cleaning programme we've got in place? Are we checking that the building materials are fit for purpose and they are the relevant graded steel? And when does the actual rent on that property start? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on page 28? Councillor Williams.
Same subject, really. Simple question. When is the hotel going to open? This 5-star luxury hotel, £1,000 a night, going to bring lots of people to Blackpool who want to stay in higher quality accommodation. It's not going to happen, is it? It's going to be another mausoleum, another black elephant. Can we tell, or can you tell us if this is going to open or not, and when it's going to open? Have you spoken to Peter Swan? I know a few people who have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Page 29. Oh, no, sorry, 28. Was that another question, Councillor Walsh? 29. Sorry, page 29, Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. In relationship to the Only in Blackpool destination marketing, at a recent business forum presentation, I was exposed to the 1.3 million Nigel for Seagull. I thought it was actually a great campaign that Blackpool Council have adopted, to be fair. Just a couple of questions though, Lady Mayor, if I may. How long is this programme set to last? And as a marketing venture, why have we not jumped on this and had plush toys made? If we're spending £1.3 million, wouldn't it be a novel idea to have this as a mascot for Blackpool at these Merlin destinations, at the Tower, at the Waxworks? You know, what are we doing? Has it got its own Facebook page? Has it got its own Instagram? Where are we making this a bigger commercial venture? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Callow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I can turn to playground investments, I notice here that you have named some playgrounds that are going to have some investments, and also at the end of the sentence there is and more. Now, I know that Councillor Sloman and I have had many complaints about our little playground on Carr Road. Over the years, money has gone from the ward budget to pay for drainage there, for a slide, to renovate the swings, but nothing in comparison to what some of these other playgrounds have had the money spent on. Not that I begrudge it, because they are vital for our children. And I know that we have got some commuted sums promised to us from a firm that are doing some building. And what I would like to say, Madam Mayor, is I do hope that they hurry up and provide the money so that we can progress and make Carr Road something to be proud of for the children of Norbrec. I think they've been more than patient, and so have the ward councillors. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Callow. Any further? Councillor Clapham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's the same subject, actually. We picked it up immediately when we read that the playground at the top of Bispam Cliff, on Bispam Cliff Tops was involved. But the initiative actually came from the ward councillors, Councillor Paul Wilshaw and myself. We'd been round the playground, it was looking tired, it was popular, but it needed something, needed a wow factor. And we pulled in Paul Hodgson. He did a great job as an officer, came up with the idea of running or building this junior assault course with a solar-powered stopwatch at the end, with safe surfaces so that it will be used safely and competitively and help the children to be occupied and fit. And we invested £14,000 from the ward budget. So it was a combination of two ward councillors, a good officer, putting the funds together, and I think it's going to be built within the next fortnight. And I thank everyone who's helped on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clapham. Councillor Sloman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just referring really what to Councillor Callow very kindly raised in respect of Carr Road Park. It is a very small but very loved and very much used park. It's hidden. Not a lot of people even know it's there. First of all, I would like to commend Val Bradford, who is the leader of the Brownies and Guides group that meet near the park, because those girls that are under Val's tutelage go out every week and they do litter picking in the park, saving the council money. The other thing I'd like to ask also is where we are looking at making this playground investment, is there any consultation going on with residents in terms of the type of equipment that's required? Because I do have several interested parties who use that park quite a lot, who have pointed out that we need to be very mindful about the age groups of children that are going on the park, the propensity for older children to use the park for activities that are a little bit more illicit, and everything that goes on there. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further questions, page 29? Okay, Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Lee. Yeah, on subject to playground investment again. What's been conveniently omitted from this small paragraph is the significant amount of central government funding that's going to be put into playground investment in Blackpool. I met with the Blackpool North MP last year at the Rock Gardens to discuss development on the Rock Gardens. So I know there's going to be a corridor through Blackpool of repairing all the playgrounds, but that has been conveniently omitted when you're always harking on about you don't get any help from central government. So when the opportunity arises, you kindly omit it from the paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Councillor Danny Scott.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Once again, about the playgrounds, we have one in Gin Gardens, which is poorly serviced and looked after in the aspect of some health and safety concerns with the ground that some of these playstations are put on for the kids to play on. It's wearing away on the ground and making two large divots where they're actually playing, and I believe it turned into an area that could be quite dangerous for an accident waiting to happen. I would like the council to have a look at this and see if any maintenance is required for this. I believe that it is. And also on the playground itself, it is quite small in Gin Gardens, and it needs expanding. I would like the council to have a look at it and see how much more of the area, which is quite a grassy area, could be used to expand the play area for the local children. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Any further questions on page 29? Councillor Williams? You're jumping ahead. Anybody further? Right. Councillor Williams, page 30. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the skate park, I totally agree with Councillor Cart. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant skate park, well designed and all the rest of it. And we've heard all the complaints that graffiti has appeared. Anybody who didn't think there would be graffiti on that park within 24 hours doesn't know what they're talking about and are totally naive. They go hand in hand with the culture of skateboarding. Same as the House of Wings, they use graffiti-type graphics, and what they're doing, if you look at any skate park all over the world, you'll find graffiti. It's not rude graffiti, it's active action graffiti. And to a certain extent, it is an art form. And that's the way skateboarders view it. Their boards have got the same graffiti on it. It would have been smarter if in the first place, when we built it, we put the graffiti on ourselves. We could have controlled it. So you'll clean it up, and it'll cost a few bob to do that, but it'll be back. It'll be back as soon as you've cleaned it up. Thank you.
Page 29, Councillor Walsh. Page 30, Councillor Walsh. Yes. Did you want, is it, yeah, I'll just take Councillor Walsh and then Councillor Williams. Sorry, Councillor.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Back in 2019, in relationships to tree planting under the veil of austerity, I raised the issue of the 10 trees on Cookson Street at the tune of £100,000. Fast forward to 2022, and on two separate occasions, on official capacity as an elected member, I've asked for the figures for Edward Street. Both times, those figures have been unforthcoming. It's taken a freedom of information request from a fellow friend who was denied initially and then on appeal won. It then transpires that in order to plant 6 trees on Edward Street, the total build cost is £174,000, £564. With cost of living crisis, I asked the same question I asked in 2019. Is that value for money from the Labour group?
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. Any further questions on page 30? Sorry, Councillor Kane, sorry. See.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's just relating to the Stanley Park skate park. I think it's a fantastic investment and I really welcome it. However, what I do want to see is, and I want to make a suggestion, many years ago I made a suggestion to the council officers that we should be looking at putting some form of a skate park on the promenade to avoid skaters going on the comedy carpet and destroying that fantastic feature that we've got. So could I ask if there any potential that can be revisited by the officers of the council with the support of the Labour group and the rest of the council? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kane. General questions? Councillor Mitchell?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It relates to tourism, and the leader will be well aware of the election pledge of the Labour group back in 2019 to have resident discounts for all of the town's major tourist attractions. Why is there report signs on this? Is it because what was not promised was that residents would have the right to put their names forward for a lottery whereby some residents would enjoy free access on a one-off basis? When did all become a special few?
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Councillor Walsh?
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Yeah, if it was possible to just backtrack to the monolithic building, which is the Sands venue, one part that I failed to mention was, if you look at that building, it's covered in salt. Blackpool's recently placed host to the Blackpool Dance Festival, where it's become an international town. You've got people from China, America, everybody looking at the town. And in a state that it looks an absolute eyesore. And that's where the cleaning programme comes into it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Walsh?
Is it me?
No. Oh, sorry, did you?
Yes, sorry.
So I'll put you on my list. Scott, Councillor Williams, and then Councillor Scott. Too many Scots, I'm getting all confused. Councillor Danny Scott, sorry. What's he called?
My worry at the moment, particularly on the prom, I spend a lot of time on a prom. I have 2 little dogs, work part-time, and I have plenty of time to take them walkies, so to speak. I spoke a few years ago to Councillor Campbell about bikes and scooters, etc. But that was in the old days. These days now we have electric bikes and electric scooters, and I'm a bit worried about the statistics that are coming through about the accidents and deaths of people because of these scooters and e-bikes. We're not talking about 15.5 miles an hour. These scooters, I couldn't catch one. I was doing 30 miles an hour down my street and could not catch a guy on a scooter. E-bikes go up to about 70 miles an hour these days, and I believe with the summer coming up, we are seeing more and more of these bikes sipping in and out of the crowds on the prom, and I would like someone to have a look at this, please, to see what can be done to protect the public, particularly the children, and of course owners' pets who run about on the prom. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Vic Scott, and then I've got you.
Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Right, we've got 1 minute remaining.
Sorry?
1 minute remaining.
Right. Yeah, it's just a quick one on the regeneration of the town centre. I mean, credit where credit's due. I had a walk around Cedar Square and the new shop fronts and what they did with the old wine bar there, that's done to perfection. But what dismays me is we've paid fortunes for fancy block paving and everything all over, then it's dug up, tarmacked, they put the flags back, they're broken. You know, surely, not in that area, I'm on about generally around town, outside the Winter Gardens, where they put the new cabling in to facilitate the new cinema. A lot, if you walk around there, I mean, that beautiful mosaic in front of the Winter Gardens entrance there, you look at it, there's tarmac, there's, you know, there were beautiful grey slates, there's cracked slates, and this is all done because nobody's been overseeing the utility companies that come in, just whack them down quick, get out, and nobody's... The same thing with out in the suburbs. They just sweep all the rubbish down the drain, I've seen them do it, gravel, sand, you name it, and they get blocked up. Who's paying for it? Us. Yeah? There should be, as soon as you dig up that road, you pay for it.
Thank you, Councillor.
Cleaning afterwards.
Go on. Because you did, is it relating to for Councillor Hugo?
Need
Yeah.
to agree.
Can we agree that Councillor Williams will speak? He's been very patient and it was... Sorry. Yeah.
People will know that I've been concerned about the sea defence at Anchors Home for some time, and I know Councillor Jane Hugo is aware of that. We've had consultations before, and I've been told by senior officers that it's okay, it's fine, nothing wrong with it. There is. Otherwise, we wouldn't have spent £500,000 recently on consultants and legal costs taking Balfour Beatty to court over remedial work. Now, it doesn't say in the report exactly what that remedial work is or whether it applies to Anchors Home, but there's certainly a problem, because if there's a problem in Anchors Home with the sea defence contract, that problem's going to move down the promenade. It's the same type of construction. So I suppose the question is, where are we with it really? How bad is it? What did the recent consultants who cost £250,000 find that we felt it necessary to take Balfour Beatty to court? And what are the proceedings in that court case? I know it could be sub judice, but I don't want anyone to commit themselves to that. But are we winning? Are we losing? Will this be fixed? And if we lose, who picks up the bill? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay. Do you want, is it Councillor Williams, Lynn Williams, are you starting off with the responses? Or Councillor Smith, sorry.
I'll try and answer it, but not ask my colleagues to come in or at the end maybe update any points I wasn't sure of. But at least I've printed off 3 pieces of paper. I got into 24 questions, a bit more than the other 2 beforehand, you know. So I was going to get away with it. Mr. Scott, the Jubilee, probably Lynn might be Councillor Williams might add for more to it, but I found myself personally the event was fantastic. The tram parade on the promenade was brilliant. A number of people come out to support that on there, and I've never known it so busy on the promenade, and that parade was great. Going down to see the beacon, I did actually watch it from West Street Car Park because it was a bit wet, so I thought I'd go out and have a look. So and I saw the fireworks off the tower, the beacons. We did something different in Blackpool because we're the town of light, so we didn't have bonfires burning carbon. We thought we'd just have sort of LED lights beaming into the sky, which is more probably eco-friendly as well for the environment. But thank you for that. Councillor Fred Jackson and Maxine Callow, thank you for your comments regarding Will Britton. Most appreciated. I think you appreciate those comments from both yourself. And I thought myself he's a wonderful gentleman, and he performed his jobs excellently through the time I've known him for the last 11 years as being the councillor. I've had no issues, always been supportive of myself. Right, I'm trying to remember I got to in here. Okay, Councillor Bradley Mitchell, regarding the airport. Yes, in the report was regarding the access road. What we need to try and do is release sites that are not accessible now to develop sites for the growth of the economic part of the enterprise zone to generate sort of employment and jobs. It's not affecting the airline itself, it's just releasing additional space and capacity so we can improve and build more units to improve more jobs and more business opportunity for the town and everybody. Which also some of these new builds on there multiply high-skilled, high-paid jobs for the youth of today and in the future as well. So this is where we're building for the future, not for now. So the airport itself will stay in place, operating for what it does now, serving the jets coming to Blackpool, the Red Arrows will come with fuel up, and the helicopters. It all operates as normal. That's not going to change. The airline, the runway's not been moved. It's going to be just for the service of releasing pockets of land for development. Right, I got Scott here, something like extension, Hounds Hill. Yes, we're looking for the extension to the cinema and the restaurants underneath. It's not a white elephant. It will be developed. We're going to be working to the contract with Wilkinson's coming back again. Restaurants there, and I can't give you more detail on the Devon store because we're still in the process. Councillor Williams might be to add more detail on that later. I do not know, but I'm not really deeply involved in that. But we are hoping. I went down the other week to see my family in Swindon. I walked in the town centre and they got a big, massive, empty Devon store there. We're looking to, hopefully, we'll be working on filling our store. But there's many stores across the town have got big, large, empty Devon stores. Especially, I suppose, the Trafford Centre will be one of them. You know, that would be a hard store to fill, wouldn't it? Avon Street Market, yes. All I can say is we could be better than Southport, okay? We have the best market store, you know, so we are working on that. It's been developed. Hopefully later this year it'll open up. We are working with an operator inside to run the internal parts of the business inside. But as we know more information, we'll give you more information that comes out. But what I've seen, what I've heard, the plans are very aspirational and they'll be fantastic, okay? Councillor Galley, the Edge forecast. Yes, aspiring cost, you know, as we know, building costs have gone up a lot. I know within the start, I mean, I do have a business operates on the base there, so I've got to declare slight interest on that project itself, but I'm working on the economics of the development of the site, you know, so I just want to let you know Madam Mayor, for the record. But yes, we are cautious and we're aware of that, so if we maybe have to readjust some of the plans, we'll have to keep within side budget, you know, so, but what I see, what I hope from that site would be a fantastic site for business in the heart of the town centre, supporting what the good work has been built over the last 10, 15 years and the business support. Councillor, oh yes, Central Park Development. I'm going to pass that one over to Councillor Williams when she's going to speak later on that one, okay? Showtown, yes, you're right, I've seen it and I've seen graffiti on the side there, which I've reported. It doesn't look very good. A number of times I take photographs, I go around there, as I walk in town, I go back, I feed it through for it to be cleaned up and I've challenged to keep the area clean. There could be a better programme for cleaning. All I can do is hopefully that would happen in the future, but we are, as I see it, I log it and I push it through. So I know so what I'm trying to do is we'll try and get some sort of report, an update on there on what the plans are, how that's maintained. Okay? Some questions. Says, when will the hotel be done? Councillor Williams, I can't remember what that was. What's your question? Oh yeah, the hotel open, you know, the 5-star hotel, is that what you're asking when it's going to be opened up? We're still working with the developer at the site, so once that opens, we'll have some more information for you. Councillor Walsh,
so we don't know.
that question was it, when's it going to open up?
Yeah.
Yeah, when it does, we're working with the developer, the owner of the site, to force that through and speed it up as much as we can. So we're still in talks with them, pushing that development forward. Okay, Councillor Walsh, fantastic ideas. Why can't we capitalise on what we're doing? I don't know if some of these ideas might take it away. Hopefully someone's listening here that might be to move on that seagull approach. It might be a good idea to PR Blackpool. Everybody's have a good idea across the chamber. Okay. Playgrounds, I know nothing about playgrounds, because it's not my portfolio, so I'm going to pass all the playgrounds across. But I would say there's a bit of question regarding playgrounds, and I think Bradley Mitchell mentioned about funding grants with that, you know, within the playgrounds. We have, we've had, as you mentioned earlier on, we've had a number of budget cuts over the years and restricted budget. The government do give us grants, specific grants for specific projects. So once we do those projects, we develop on those projects. Okay, so we do get, you say different grants, different projects, and they get used on the projects they are bespoke before designed for. Okay, so Stanley Park, nothing to do with myself personally, but it's a great asset for Blackpool, you know. And I hate graffiti for the best of things. You know, my colleagues around here, I'm always going on about graffiti across Blackpool. And it's not graffiti, it's tagging. If it is a structural graffiti, I think we could probably live with it a little bit more. But when you've got people just tagging it and spraying across, you know, playgrounds, telephone boxes, lampposts, and just putting their tag on it, that's not graffiti, that's tagging. You know, graffiti, done properly and constructively, can look good. As you know, we've got the sandstone and spray across the town. That looks good. So we do it to support that. We don't support tagging, you know. Trees. Thank you, Councillor Walsh, for raising that question. You know, I've got that here in front of me. Yes, what I've been told is, because it's the infrastructure, we might say it's 174,000, but remember, that's not just the trees. That's the trees itself, and the man-hours to plant the trees in total is 4,400 quid. You're talking the larger sum of money. For trees to survive in a built-up area, we can't just dig a hole in the ground and put a tree in there, because it won't live, will it?
We did.
Well, fortunately, in the town centre, Councillor Williams, we do have cables and pipes and stuff into the ground.
They're everywhere.
As a tree grows, as you know, the root underneath the tree is as big as the canopy above the tree. So if you see a large tree, underneath the ground would be the structure of the root that feeds the tree. So if you put a tree in a built-up pedestrian area which is supported by shops and residential areas, it can cause structural problems and can cause damage to water pipes and other infrastructure. So when we put these trees in place on Cookson Street and Edward Street, it's a specially designed structure that goes in the ground, which is done by all councils across the country, not just Blackpool, where the tree goes in there. It's a fixed area where the trees can grow and survive in that area. So it costs more money for that to go in the ground, which was done at the same time as the road infrastructure and the quality corridors. The trees itself, to go in there, and the man hours to put the trees in, that totaled £4,400. That's the fact on there, okay? Councillor Kane, thank you very much for your comments on there. I know we spoke over time, many years, about skateboards on the comedy carpet, you know, and let's see if we can sort of expand what we do to prevent them destroying or upsetting, and also people sort of enjoying the comedy carpet as well. So we've got skateboards going across, people trying to walk there, causing accidents as well. So I'm not sure what we can do to support that. We'll look into that, okay? I'm not going to go into discount passes. I'm going to pass that one over to the leader there, okay? You also followed up a question regarding the sands, which I've answered earlier on in there. As I got towards it, my handwriting got worse, okay, so I do apologise. Oh yes, Danny Scott regarding, Councillor Danny Scott regarding e-bikes. They are a plague across the town, and they go faster than I can drive. And I drive around, and suddenly an e-bike could just go past you like that quite quickly on the side. I'm not quite sure if you could do 70 miles an hour, because... But I'd take your word for it, but I mean, 70 miles an hour would be... well, battery don't think they'll last that long if they're doing that down the motorway, would they? You know. But no, but they are. There is certain towns across the town which are maybe monitoring this and how it can be implemented, and this people are using this form of transport because it's cheaper, more economical to get to and from work. But that's not just the only people using it. It's people using it sort of racing around, causing an issue, and knocking people over, and also spinning out crossing traffic lights. I mean, I was driving to a traffic light the other day, and they could straight across in front. If I didn't slow down to the light, I could have hit it, you know. So they just come from nowhere at high speed. So they are dangerous as well. So, but I think this needs to be looked at too. I think it's going to be more of a police issue, you know. So I think it might be raised this for your police and crime commissioner, because the police will be the police to enforce upon this as well. So we can work with our team, but it's going to have to go to be more of a police response on that, you know. Sea defences, I don't know about, but I'm going to pass that question over to my colleague, Councillor Jane Hugo. I've got one here from Rick Scott Reservation, Seawall, Castle, Broken, Tarmac. Oh yeah, pavements in the town centre. You're right. Problem is, once a utility firm comes in and digs it up, they're allowed to put temporary tarmac down for a period of time, because they might not have the materials that originally was there to be replaced at that moment in time. So they come along, do a job, put temporary tarmac down, then go away. Then a number of times I've gone to the highways department and said, can you chase this up? Because it doesn't look very good. You know, they've done the work, they took the shortcut, they put the tarmac down and not replaced it. I know that the stones they use in St John's Square, they have to import those from abroad, you know, so they're not native to the UK. So, but I'd have to follow up where we are with those programs. But also, I know utility works across the town. When we're talking about the fibre network, what we do is sometimes they might put, they re-tarmac it down temporarily with the tarmac if we're doing some more improvement work at a later point. So they might put a temporary measure that we can improve and do extra longer term work in the area. But if that's not planned, then they should put it back for like. So if you've got areas, you just have to feed it through to the highways team to follow up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Williams. Thank you. Yeah, Councillor Scott Debenhams,
I am as frustrated as you are that I can't say. It's with those pesky lawyers, and we all know what they do, and that's how it has been. But as soon as we can, believe me, I will be making sure everybody absolutely is aware. Councillor, I'm sorry if these are out of order, just as I've made a note. The Central Car Park development, we actually had a meeting in person with the developers who are absolutely prioritising Blackpool. Not gave us, obviously I can't provide you with the financial details, but they are absolutely very supportive. They have let go of other work elsewhere, businesses elsewhere, to focus primarily on Blackpool, and they're absolutely 110%. They're really excited about it and are determined to deliver, not just to deliver, but to deliver something really fantastic. And you know that 300 million private investment will be happening. Councillor Walsh, the Seagull, obviously the 1.3 million, that's not just for that covers all the social media, and it's not just our cost, although ours is the lion's share, because it's done obviously for the whole of the town. We own the intellectual property rights for Colin Seagull. So yeah, there's been various discussions around how we can elevate Colin and do things that, because it's a great character. But yeah, absolutely they're on with that, and we'll, as I say, it's only just the start of the campaign now, so that will be happening. Councillor Mitchell, the tickets, yeah, it wasn't a few, it was many thousands, and the actual response that we have had from residents has been overwhelmingly positive. Where else were we? Councillor Williams, I'm just joining in the conversation about graffiti. I think there's a difference between tagging and also, when the graffiti is about the, how do we put this, sexual proclivity of people. Obviously, that cannot be allowed. That's not graffiti that you're talking about, and it's not even tagging, and that's what has happened. So, that needed to be removed. But yeah, absolutely, young people, it is, an art form, and I think, there are plans in terms of long-term plans once has continued to how we use that facility down there, and also part of the youth review, what facility we can use and what area can be kind of designated to young people to create that space and artwork. So, the trees. Now, the trees on Edward Street, I mean, if anyone noticed the trees on Crookston Street, they look fantastic. But I agree with Paul Maynard, MP for Blackpool North, who's pushing us to have more urban trees. Now, if what you're saying is you don't want us to apply for grant funding from your government to plant those trees, and yet that you don't think that expense is justified in Blackpool, and that money could be spent in Burnley or Manchester or Liverpool, who were all utilising those schemes, who were all bidding for the same money to make those town centre improvements. So if that's what you're saying, but we're not going to do that. We're going to carry on applying for the money, for the grant funding, and we are going to turn that town centre, we're going to have green trees that not just go and wither. They will be like the ones on Crookston Street, which look absolutely blooming amazing, because, it's about, as Councillor Smith has explained, it's about the structure and to ensure the longevity of it. Talked before, easy Google search if anybody's interested, cost-benefit analysis of this kind of structure of root formation, which over time, and that's been developed, and it's a system that has been used across the country. I think Blackpool deserves actually the best and the most forward technology, and all that to ensure that we have wonderful street scene in our town centre. And I think, is that it? Have I missed anything? No. It is Nigel's. No, what did I call him?
Colin.
What did I call it? No, it's Nigel. Sorry, Colin's and Nigel's.
Councillor Hugo.
Okay, thank you. So it all got quite busy on page 29. And I've recently taken over parks, as I said, from Madam Mayor, and I'm privileged to have that as part of my portfolio. And Councillor Jackson, when he said the prayers at the start of the meeting tonight, said how it's a privilege to serve this town. And that's how I feel about the parks. It's a real asset to have, and I'm proud to have it as part of my portfolio. Councillor Callow, I think you must have been reading my mind, because, as I say, I've recently had this portfolio. I've been on a visit. I've been to Bispam to see the work that's going to be going on there with the solar start button, etc., etc. And I've been to a few different sites, and I've asked the same question. So this is great. There's lots more work in the pipeline, but can I have a list of where funding's gone to and where it's planned to go and where the gaps are, so that we can make sure there's equity across the town and that all parks are getting attention. And can I say at this point as well, please, absolutely, do not hesitate to get in touch. If you want something in your park to be addressed, let us know. And the officers will do their utmost to make sure it gets sorted. Okay, so more specifically, we have the Carr Road Park. We'll follow that up and find out what's going on there and what the plans are. And I'd also like to register my thanks to the Girl Guides and all friends of parks. You're right, Councillor Sloman, they save the council money. They wouldn't look as beautiful as they do without the help of our local residents and groups such as the Girl Guides. So, Councillor Clapham, you talked about your partnership work and your ward funding, and we appreciate very much that you've been able to contribute to that project there. And I was also, when I went to the visit to have a look, I was very pleased to hear Paul, the officer, talk about how that equipment that's on your site is going to be repurposed, which helps with environmental issues. So, great news all round there. Councillor Rick Scott, I didn't know I had a reputation to hark on, I think it was, you said, that we do, about government funding. But I will make it my business to find out what government funding Blackpool has had going into the parks. And similar to Councillor Williams' comment, maybe you might want to let us know if you think we shouldn't apply for such funding and if our parks don't deserve to get government funding to make them better. Councillor Danny Scott, Ging Gardens, you're talking about there's something in there that's dangerous and that it's a small park for the area, so we'll get that looked into. We'll arrange a meeting and we'll come down to the site and see exactly what it is. Thank you. Yeah, just to be really clear, because I'm not sure if people understood when Councillor Lynn Williams explained about the graffiti. I think it's absolutely brilliant that people recognise proper graffiti as an art form, and I'm pleased to hear, Councillor Williams, that you're of that mindset. However, on the skate park, after it was open, there was some offensive language, and that had to be removed straight away. It wasn't about us being naive and being surprised that it had got graffiti on it. It had to be removed because we wouldn't allow something offensive language to stay where it was. Councillor Kane, the skate park on the promenade, I shall pursue that with the officers and see if there's anywhere we can go with that. And the Anchor Zone sea defences. Yes, so as far as I'm aware, the Environment Agency have funded the lawyers, etc., etc. And I'm not going to get into I'm not going to try now to explain my understanding because it's very much a layperson's and I'll probably misquote what I've been told by officers. So thank you for that, Councillor Williams. And absolutely, it is important that if there have been lessons that we need to learn, we need to learn them now before the next set of work takes place. So I shall go back to the officers and we'll give a written response to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So if we just move on to the Fire Authority report, and then are we okay just a very, very quick 5-minute break? It's a bit warm in here, but please, no longer than 5 minutes. So I do believe it's Councillor Hugo presenting this one.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yep, sorry folks, it's me again. Okay, so, yeah, I'm really pleased to present the fire report that you've got in your pack. The broad scope of firefighters' duties never ceases to amaze me. from COVID vaccination centres to fire safety, checks in people's homes, to working with young people and Prince's Trust, cutting people out of vehicles in road traffic accidents, training search and rescue dogs, dealing with forest and moorland fires, responding to arson, and sadly, on occasion, dealing with fire-related deaths. The things that our firefighters do for us is absolutely incredible, and I'm very proud to be able to represent Blackpool on the Combined Fire Authority, along with my colleagues, Councillor Williams and Councillor Jackson. Because of this, the variety of things that a firefighter has to deal with, and they don't know from day to day what's going to occur, staff welfare is absolutely critical. And I'm pleased to report that Lancashire Fire and Rescue Service have an excellent staff welfare programme available to all their staff. Changing the subject, a current national concern for all members of fire authorities is the new government white paper reforming our fire and rescue service. It's just gone out for consultation, and one of the recommendations is to change the governance arrangements so that fire and rescue services are managed in a similar way to the police, i.e. one individual will be elected to oversee the whole service. I was able to attend the National Fire Commission meeting in London last week, and I can report that all members in attendance at that meeting, regardless of their political persuasion, were against this proposal. The main concern being the ability of one person to represent the diverse communities currently served by the Combined Fire Authority. So, in example, in Lancashire, we've got rural areas, we've got cities, we've got towns. It's just so diverse that we don't believe one person can properly represent it. So the consultation continues and we will await the outcome. So just to close and to emphasise how well the Lancashire Fire and Rescue Service has been managed to date, I'd like to share some old news, if there's such a thing. It's still factual, however, and Lancashire Fire and Rescue Service are the only service to be given an outstanding by the Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Crime, Fire and Rescue Services, and that was in 2018, but that still stands. And I think that's a testament to the firefighters in the main, but also to the organisation, the management and the governance. So why reform? And, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hugo. Did Councillor Williams, Councillor Jackson wish to speak? Yes, please. Okay, Councillor Williams. Do you want to?
I thought you said Councillor Jackson.
Well, I did, but yeah.
I'd just like to endorse everything Councillor Hugo said. The fire service is, without doubt, outstanding in Lancashire. We have a marvellous troop of people, and so considerate to the fire and rescue officers that we're looking at pay increases along the band scale. We don't believe that some of the officers are paid sufficiently in today's market, and that's been addressed. In regard to the white paper, I fully and totally agree with what you're saying. It will be disastrous for any fire service to come under that type of management. It won't work. It'll be negative in regards of motivation. It will be negative in regards of results, I feel. So I'm hoping that the consultation is done in a fair and proper manner and by the right people, and that the green paper will say business as usual. But I'm proud to be on that committee, and I'm proud that I've got two colleagues of the same mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson, did you want to speak? Okay, so if we just go through the report, any questions on page 31? 32? 33? 34? Okay. Sorry, Councillor Scott. Oh, sorry, general questions, yeah.
Firstly, I'd like to concur with everything that's been said. Quite a few of my friends are ex-firefighters. But the thing I wanted to bring up was a matter of safety. I notice a bill has just been passed that all new builds must have electric charging points for cars. And I've mooted this before about new builds should have sprinkler systems installed. In my personal view, that is more, you know, life is more important than having an electric car charger in your drive if we put this view forward. I know houses have multiple application and certain flats have them in, but I just wondered where we were with that and if there was going to be any movement on sprinklers in housing. Thank you.
Are you going to respond, Councillor Hugo?
Thank you, Councillor Scott. This topic comes up, I think, at every council with the fire report, and I'm somewhat embarrassed to say I don't know where we're up to with that, so I'll make it my business to find out, and unless my colleagues can give any further update, we'll find out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Fire Officer Ben, who's just moved to Manchester, he and I have done some research on this, and we are lobbying the government, along with other fire services, to have that very thing instigated, that sprinkler systems are fitted as built. It's very expensive to retrofit them. It can cost thousands of pounds, but it only costs hundreds of pounds if it's done at the build stage. So we don't see a problem on that, but the onus would come down on the Building Federation and their members as to who funds it. Certainly the fire service shouldn't fund it. I think it's in interests of public safety. So that's where we are, but it's ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, so if we just have a very quick comfort break, and can everybody back in their seats no later than 10 to, please? No clock.
Members, would you be able to please return to your seats, please?
You councillors were all feeling suitably refreshed. Okay. We all okay? Okay. Okay. Item 5, Audit Committee Annual Report. Councillor Galley to present.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. My biggest challenge with this is I only ever get 3 minutes. And it's so cruel, it's so cruel. I know. But I will be quick because everyone's hot. I obviously... One of the things that we always set out, Lady Mayor, was when we first had this conversation, was to make this a sexy item. And everyone always thought it was bonkers.
You're still trying. I'm not buying into it yet. But...
Audit traditionally is a very dry subject, and I appreciate that more than anyone. However, it's a great force of change. And what this report reflects is a wonderful committee that I'm really proud to chair. Every member on it, the Labour members, the Conservative members, they all work as one. They all support each other alongside the independents, and it is a brilliant committee to chair. And oddly enough, I think that's now being recognised with some of the national guidelines that came out within the last couple of weeks, which have started to say that all councils must have an audit committee, all councils must have 2 independent members, all audit committees must have specialist focused training. All the things that we've been doing for a number of years here in Blackpool. So I'm really proud to be part of that team, and credit to the officers for their support in that. The last 12 months has represented another challenge, but we have, through the work of the newly created audit committee, the work that we've done in terms of our targeted training, our use of pre-meets, to actually develop question development, not just to create a good committee. There's no point having a really good committee if it doesn't know its place. And the Audit Committee's role is very much to seek assurance, to review governance arrangements, and at a time that we've seen a number of councils struggle around the UK, that is needed more than ever. Last year I talked about that we were a sustainable organisation. The work this year that we've done, Lady Mayor, has covered areas around the organisational structures that exist between the council and companies and the council. Again, areas around the country that have exposed councils and often brought them down in terms of some well-known examples in Croydon and Nottingham. Alongside the other work that we've done is we've done a big review on the strategic risk register. So it's very focused, it's very targeted, it's very thematic, and that will start to spread out in some of our council-owned company audit committees as well. Again, it's an example of us creating best practice before the guidelines follow us. But what that will allow us to do is, again, target questions and focus around the key areas of risk and managing risk. On page 38, I've listed a number of targets that we're looking to achieve, which is better communications with both the public and also raising the awareness of fraud. Every penny that we lose in fraud is a penny that we can't spend on a core project somewhere in the service, and it's making the public and the practitioners of that fraud realise that and the consequences that they're in effect stealing from themselves. So the Audit Committee has a really good 12 months ahead of it in terms of how we deliver that. And again, horizon scanning will also be a big part of that work. So just to wrap up, a huge thank you to all those members, our independent members, and I'll be referring to that in a future agenda item tonight, and all the officers that have helped us in the journey to create something quite special and that I'm very proud of.
Thank you very much, Councillor Galley. We shall go through it page by page. Any questions on page 35? Page 36, 37, 38. Okay, Councillor Scott.
Question, Lady Mayor. I'd just like to say, I know he's one of ours, but the professional and business-like way that Councillor Galley runs the Audit Committee, and it's a great example of cross-chamber cooperation. So thank you.
Okay. Councillor Lynn Williams.
Thank you. Yeah, similar vein, but you're not one of mine. But but equally, you know, audit incredibly important role it performs for the council. You know, I support you in the work that is undertaken through that because of the importance of it. And you know, thank you to you and the rest of the committee and the officers. Totally agree with all your comments, and thank you.
Okay, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And when I first got elected to the council, I was actually vice chair of audit with Councillor Clapham at the time, for 4 years before I think you took over that period of time afterwards. I know how much passion you have for audit, because I'm not actually on it now, but I know you chair the audit for the winter gardens, and that can go on for quite detailed and long period of time, but with excitement and challenge as well. So I know what you bring to audit, because audit can be sometimes a bit dull. I like a nice spreadsheet, and I like figures in there quite nicely, you know. But you do bring some excitement, and you do take it to heart, and you do sort of put your heart into audit. So I would just say thank you from myself and that from this side of the bench.
Any further questions or general comments? Do you want to respond, Councillor Galley?
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Just to thank you everyone's very kind words. Well, we're only able to do this because everybody puts equally their heart and souls into it, and it's a great team, as was mentioned, yeah, I really do believe it's an agent of change and a force for good if used wisely, and I think we do that very, very well in Blackpool. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, item 6, scrutiny annual report. Councillor Callow to move the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It does give me great pleasure to present this report, but if you would just indulge me just for 2 seconds, I would just like to take this opportunity of thanking everybody for their kindness, from the Chief Exec to all the officers and the councillors. You've been so supportive and so kind. I would just like to thank you all very much indeed. It's very much appreciated, thank you. So now if I can just turn now to the agenda item, I would just like to thank everybody involved in this scrutiny. When this first started out, some people were very cynical and said, oh, it's not going to work. You know, where politics will still come into it. But I believe that politics do not come into it. Something like the Audit Committee, it is there for Blackpool people to make this a better place and a better council. And I would just like to thank everybody for their hard work and their enthusiasm. When I look at this report and think of all the work that we've got through COVID, it's absolutely amazing, and people have just worked so hard. And as the chairman of this committee, I would just like to put on record my thanks to everybody concerned. Thank you. And if I can just touch a couple of things, please. If I can just turn to page 46. Now, this is one disappointment to us all. This is regarding the Meals on Wheels. This was brought to the council as a notice of motion. It could be a couple of years ago from Councillor Williams. So we decided to have a scrutiny, which went very well. People all worked extremely hard on it, and we decided that we would get a leaflet out to the people of Blackpool to advise them of what was available regarding Meals on Wheels. This leaflet should have been ready to go out to print so that it could be distributed with people's council demands way back in April. I know that we've now got a leaflet, but it is rather late in the day and a great disappointment to us all. I'm not laying the blame at anybody. I know it was a number of matters that came into the equation, but it was a disappointment after all the hard work. And then if I can just turn to something on page 47 that I am just so proud of, and this is regarding engagement with young people. This has been one of the highlights of my time on this committee. The young people that have come to speak to us all, they've been excellent. Their enthusiasm has been great. And of course, we've now got young people who are inspectors who go around with qualified staff round the homes. And I'm very much looking forward to their next report, which is due any time. But the young people, they should be applauded for what they do to try to improve the facilities that are available. And now I'd just like to say I'm just available for any questions that anybody's got. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kellogg. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Very happy to second the report, and to thank Councillor Callow for all the work and commitment you've done to scrutiny. I think, it's become sort of not even common parlance now, but just accepted way if we have a particular issue that it now goes to scrutiny, and there is that openness and appreciation of how scrutiny is meant to work and does work, and a large part of that has come from your leadership, from the top down, and how you have rallied everyone to understand what is expected and what we need to deliver on scrutiny. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other speakers? Okay.
Councillor Mrs. Scott.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Mrs. Scott.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As a member of the Scrutiny Committee, I would like to thank Councillor Callow for her chairmanship of the Leadership Board. But not only that, she attends as many of the scrutiny committees as she possibly can, giving her input based on her experience and her knowledge, which is built up over her time as a councillor. And in particular, over the last couple of years, when she's had so much personally to deal with, it is really commendable, Councillor Callow, how you have continued to support us all in scrutiny committees in your role as Chair of the Leadership Board. So thank you from me, and I'm sure thank you from all of us.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak? Do you want to come back to respond, Councillor Callow?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to thank the kind remarks that have been made, and I look forward very much to the following year, when I'm sure that we'll have excellent results as we have in previous years, and I look forward to it very much. And I would just once again like to thank everybody for helping me in my job. I couldn't have done it without all the support of all the members who've been really enthusiastic. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Callow. Okay, item 7, Oh, sorry, we have to vote on it. I do apologise. All in favour of the motion? Okay, that was agreed unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, item 7, Community Safety Plan. Councillor Williams to move.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'm happy to move the report in Councillor Brooks's absence. Obviously, it's a very detailed report, and I understand that it's another example of the workings of scrutiny, the full engagement and input from the scrutiny process. So, yeah, happy to move. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder?
Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Okay, any other councillors wishing to speak on this item? Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I got a copy of Appendix 7A of Blackpool Community Safety Plan. I'm sure we've all gone through that and you'll have read it. I've also got Blackpool Community Safety Plan for 2016-2019, and it's virtually exactly the same, with some major exceptions. The crime numbers now are far higher than they were when this was produced in 2016. And just this morning, I went on a website which is renowned for being independent. It's called Crime Rate. And it says in black and white, or blue and white, Blackpool is the most dangerous major town in Lancashire and is the second most dangerous overall out of Lancashire's 236 towns, villages and cities. The overall crime rate in Blackpool in 2021 was 146 crimes per 1,000 people. This compares poorly to Lancashire's overall crime rate, coming in 40% higher than the Lancashire rate of 77 per 1,000. It has the worst crime rate in Lancashire for bicycle theft, 9 crimes reported at a crime rate of 0.06 per 1,000 inhabitants. And in September 21, it was a bad month for Blackpool residents when it was Lancashire's most dangerous area for burglary, recording 93 crimes at a rate of 0.64 per 1,000 residents. The most common crimes in Blackpool are violence and sexual offences, with 10,741 offences during 2021. That's a big number. Giving a crime rate of 74%, 16% higher than 2020's figure of 9,000 offences. It finishes by saying Blackpool is the most dangerous major town in Lancashire and is the second most dangerous overall of Lancashire's 236 crimes. This is not the media. This is not Blackpool bashing. These are crime stats. And I've seen the plan in the 22-25, which is nowhere near as condensed or as thick as the 216 plan. And the projects and the targets are exactly the same. Nothing's happened since then to now, except the numbers have gone up. We need to look at this seriously, how this is working. It's okay patting ourselves on the back and saying, oh, I live in Blackpool and it's fine. These are not perceptions. This is data. And we quote data so often when we respond to questions, but we don't ignore, or we do ignore, some of this data. It concerns me. In 2016-2019, Ira Frashpura was the chair. And previous to that, I was chair of Be Safe Blackpool. And I've got to say, and it's not just because I was chair, it was the officers and people involved, the numbers were fading, they were going, they were dropping. But these numbers are not good. And I get in reports almost on a daily basis of the police failing to respond to calls, unless they're of a certain type. They don't bother. They don't come out. You're no good reporting a crime. I've got stories of people dialing 101, whatever, I'll sit down. Waiting hours on the phone to get through. So whatever we're planning in community safety, it hasn't worked and it's not working.
Thank you. Any other further speakers, councillors? Oh, sorry, councillor. So Councillor Cross and then Councillor Scott, sorry.
Madam Mayor, can I have dispensation
yes, sorry,
to state
certainly,
that?
yes, sorry, yes, sorry.
Thank you very much. I'm just a little bit confused about the comments that Councillor Tony Williams has just made. So we know that 21,000 less police officers since this Conservative government. We know that the new Police and Crime Commissioner is indeed a Conservative Police and Crime Commissioner, and community safety, although it's the responsibility of us all, we are a partner organisation that delivers this. We are not in charge of crime in Blackpool. And as proud as I am to be a Blackpool resident and as proud as I am of our town, it really doesn't help when people start having this conversation without context. And it really doesn't help that we don't have the conversation about, actually, not all of these crimes are related to the people that live here. And we do actually have, effectively, extra residents, considering the amount of people that visit Blackpool. So I'm just a bit confused why we've decided that this council is responsible for things that are responsible, actually, by the people that are in charge, like the Conservative Police and Crime Commissioner. I'm just a little bit confused. Maybe somebody clarify it for me. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Scott, Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On page 53 of the report, I'll just pick out one item, road safety, which this council is responsible for. It's just a matter of courtesy. when the council remove a lollipop person from that post, is it not courteous to inform the local councillor when that happens? Because you're inundated, yeah, with members of the public saying, what in particular, this relates to Unity College, a lady who crosses Devonshire Road, she's got a disabled child in a wheelchair, and she's got 2 other young kids, having to dodge traffic because the lollipop person has been removed without telling anybody at all. That, to me, is not being responsible to the children's safety and other adults taking the children to school. I've got one person saying unless it's returned, you know, it's dangerous, and he'll take his children to school after the rush. You know, can this be addressed, please?
Thank you. Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I've got an answer for you, Councillor Cross. Yeah, and it's not just about the police services, it's about what we do as an authority. So we have our disposal order, we have closure orders on problematic premises. Likewise, we also have public space protection orders, what that can be allocated through the council means. It's okay nodding your head like that, but to just dismiss it as if the police are the be-all and end-all and the panacea of crime, that's not the answer. We as an authority have the tools and the powers to also assist with dealing with crime. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. Councillor O'Hara.
Yeah, with regard to the police, over the last 2 years, I just wonder where they've gone. I mean, in my ward, there was a bench where the down and outs and the alcoholics and the drug addicts used to sit. And instead of the police sorting them out, they took the bench away. But in the last 12 months even, residents, and I've walked round, you can't spot a policeman. And I've been informed by the previous crime commissioner, when I've raised it with him, it's a policy for the chief constable. It's not the police and crime commissioner who makes the decisions on what they do on the streets. But I think it's important that they get back on the streets and they get in the area and they make themselves available for people who have problems. And at the minute, you try to find a policeman and you ring 101, you might as well plat sawdust. I mean, I had an incident where we continually rang about something and got no response at all from the police. And when I rang up and said, it's Councillor David O'Hara, they were there the day after. Now, that's wrong. And I think lobbying needs to go to the Chief Constable and for the Police and Crime Commissioner to poke him a little in the back, which the other one was probably doing. But the excuse, it's the Chief Constable that needs to change his attitude to people having policemen on the streets. And it's policemen on the streets that matter, not, you know, the excuse that, well, we deal with major crime and we can't put people on the streets. They used to do, even when they were 20-odd, I know they couldn't do all the work that was required because they were short of policemen, but they've supposedly got a few more now, and they've disappeared off the streets. So we've got to ask the police a question, where on earth are you?
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to sort of pass a comment really regarding this. Myself and Councillor Hugo attend the Talbot Pack meeting. I know Councillor Walsh also attends as well as a resident capacity, you know, and also with the business forum meeting as well with the hoteliers. The Tim Coughlin and the enforcement team and the police always attend those 2 meetings, and they work hand in hand together to resolve issues within our ward. I can't speak about the wider town ward because we're about what's happening within the Talbot ward area, but I know Tim's team, and we're in partnership with the police. There's lots of strong hard work and engagement working together to resolve many of these issues. I'm not going to say it's perfect out there. There is issues, there's crime, there's problems, there's beggars on the streets. But it's like sometimes you take one off and another one comes along. Myself, I was a victim of crime a few years ago. I got broke into, my door got smashed in, patio, and the house was ransacked. So I know what it's like to be affected by crime itself directly. But all I want to say is the council, I want to say is working extremely hard under the leadership of Tim Coughlin and working in partnership with the police to try and resolve many of these issues. So I want to put on record, I want to thank the hard work of the team led by Tim Coughlin and the police of Blackpool, who are trying their best with restricted funds as well to resolve these issues. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Bradley Mitchell.
I think councillors need to be somewhat cautious before laying into the police and criticising them. We've just congratulated the firefighters for the work they do, but then we're slating the police for the work that they're doing. They're emergency workers. I've been on walk-arounds in my ward with them, night shifts in Bloomfield and the town centre in Talbot. And these guys are jumping out of vehicles and chasing people with machetes. They're removing people that are driving around on quad bikes, and they're knocking down doors of places we wouldn't want to go. I think they should be congratulated for it. There are more police officers on the way. There is funding coming through Project Adder to tackle crime, drugs-related crime, and they should be congratulated for what they're doing, not slammed in a council town hall.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sloman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can perhaps give you an answer certainly as to where at least a dozen police officers were this morning. They were attending the A&E department at Blackpool Victoria Hospital, where I have the very great pleasure and privilege of working. Unfortunately, because there are so many deficits in social work provision, our police officers are more and more having to act as social workers and social care practitioners. That is not their role. While they're up at Blackpool Victoria Hospital, supporting patients largely, but moreover to protect the staff who work long and hard hours in very, very contentious circumstances at the hospital, that unfortunately is where our police officers are a lot of the time. 18 police officers at one point last weekend. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Scott.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm very pleased to see begging as a high priority or a priority on this list. I work in the town centre, nip out for my lunch for 15 or 20 minutes, and never a day goes by when I'm not approached by a beggar for money. Bankay Street, Burley Street, Abingdon Street, Church Street, Corporation Street, Victoria Street, the whole of the town centre is plagued with these people, and they seem to be operating an industry, swapping sites. One takes over from another. They all seem to know each other, and it needs to stop. It's putting off visitors, it's putting off residents, and it's not acceptable. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I just ask, in the report it doesn't say anything about people that have got special needs or anything like that. I've known people that have got arrested and nobody's helping them when they get there. Is there anything in the report that's going to stand out to help these people?
Unfortunately, Councillor Scott, you've already spoken once.
Oh, that's sorry.
So. Okay, any further, Councillor Taylor?
Yeah, I just wanted to say...
Oh, you didn't reserve your right to speak. I do apologise.
I've already said it all night, and what I do, I get shut up. But never mind, I understand the rule.
Councillor Collett.
Thank you, Lady Madam Mayor. I agree with Councillor Mitchell. We can't sit here slagging the police off. I think it's a bit out of order. They're not sat there slagging us off, and they've got a job to do. They do the job that they're told to do, and it's a hard job. But I feel in what Councillor Williams says is probably a fair comment. Maybe our report isn't ambitious enough. Maybe the cost of living is going up. It's no surprise that crime then follows. Things get harder for people. And maybe we have to, I don't know, look at our report and like I said, be more ambitious, look to the future, because if things aren't changed, things will only get worse. And it's how do we ensure that our plan is future-proof and robust enough? I don't think it's a bad plan, but obviously everyone's got their own opinion. But if there was one thing, just listening to the debate tonight, that came to my mind, and there is two people sat in this room who would be the best people for the job, and that is Councillor Mrs Callow and Councillor Galley over there, is through their work as both Chairman of Scrutiny and through Audit, is to look at our process about how do we work with the police, and are the things that because we can only control what we control, and the same as the police can only control what they can control. And it's are we talking to each other properly? Are our processes robust enough? It used to be one of our huge things when I was chair of children's scrutiny that police wouldn't really speak to children's scrutiny. It was such a big thing about trying to get children in and out of the justice system. It was a nightmare. And then luckily we had Diane come along, and that was one of the big things that she overturned, and that's made a huge difference to our sort of looked after children and children that go through the crime system. And that was a huge piece of work, and it took a long time. And that was because she was dedicated to doing that. And in my experience as the council, I'm not entirely sure that we do that in every other area that we do. And maybe that's what we have to do, and do a really big deep dive and a really big piece of work, and where we do have involvement in police in everything that we do, we ensure that our processes are the best. Because like sitting here and just pointing fingers at people and saying the police aren't coming, like we've all had bad experiences, but at the same time, like we've all had good experiences where they come, and that's just not going to solve the answer, is it? It's just not solving the problems, pointing fingers. And like I said, we can control what we can control, and maybe we have to just look at what we're doing and pay that extra attention. And it might be a massive piece of work, but it's probably worth doing, in my opinion. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Okay, Councillor Danny Scott.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Just looking at the safety plan priorities for 22 to 25. I'm just a little bit disappointed, unless there's somewhere else where I have missed it, that we have left out the rough sleeping around the town. There are a tremendous amount of individuals sleeping in hallways, not just in town but on the promenade as well. And just slightly disappointed that that does not appear to be one of the priorities for the coming 3 years. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Councillor Gary Coleman.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I don't think as a council we are slating the police. It's simply a question of logistics. There are, as we all know, less and less police than there was years ago. And I hear we are getting more police back, but that's only simply replacing a certain percentage that's gone. So, as I say, logistically, the police are getting more and more work thrown at them, and those that are there are trying the best to do what they can do in the situation. So, as a council, we're not slating the police. We want to support them as best as we can. It's a bit like the analogy of a bus driver when people keep saying, why are you late? It's not the bus driver's fault. They're doing their job as best they can in the circumstances they find themselves in, which is the same with the police, Lady Mayor. So we are not slating the police at all. We're here to support them as best we can.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Okay. Councillor Williams, right to reply.
Thank you. If I may start, I'll start with Councillor Coleman's, because I think there's also a number of questions Councillor Mitchell, etc., bringing up. Exactly the point, we're not criticising the police officers. We're criticising, if anybody, those who don't properly fund officers and the service that is necessary. I was at a meeting earlier today of Claremont Hoteliers, and I think it's Chief Superintendent Chris Hardy. Is that the right title? And he spoke very passionately, actually, about one, the fantastic relationship that he has with Blackpool Council in all aspects, and he's worked all over Lancashire, and that both through council staff, but also, you know, the voluntary sector, etc., the relationship that the police have in Blackpool far exceeds anywhere else. Particular reference and praise was heaped upon Tim Coughlin, who Chris said that, you know, he spends more time with than his wife. So, you know, that is that level of, and I think, you know, in terms of not criticising police officers at all, we're, you know, actually commending them for the work that they do, but also our officers here. It isn't the highest pay, it isn't, you know, but what we do know is they are absolutely committed to what they do and improving Blackpool. Councillor Williams' point, I mean, what's that expression? There's lies and that one. You can, I mean, the highest number, the highest offences are ones that have less impact. And what this policy is aimed at is looking at those offences that have the highest impact on our residents. I mean, I think the scheme that they is victim location, something that comes from the policing school. That's how, and it's utilised to look at that. So, as you know, as Councillor Cross says, within all of those numbers is, you know, offences that involve people from out the area. So, for example, ASB, it's now lower than it was pre-COVID in 2019. We had the peak in COVID of ASB in Ankerstone. Now, Ankersholm didn't become the ASB capital of the town, that was because Ankersholm residents were reporting COVID breaches, which is classed as ASB. So you can interpret all these statistics however you like, but the bottom line is, yes, we do have high figures. Am I absolutely committed that our officers and the police are working together to do all that we can? And this policy sets out the priorities to do so. And I think, and I hope that people will support that and support our officers and support the police in doing so. Now then, where's the other questions? Councillor Rick Scott, I'm not sure why you would have waited to raise that issue here. I don't know, but something like that obviously shouldn't happen, and you should be dealing with it, straight away. So, I can take that away and sort that out, but I don't really understand, but yes, absolutely, we will, look into it and find out. Where are we now? Councillor Walsh. I think I've dealt with that really kind of comment that there's a really good relationship. For Hara. And the issues, Councillor Cross had raised this point as well. When we talk about it's a community safety partnership, it isn't just us, the police, it's also health. It's all aspects that need to look into this. And particularly, I think Councillor Sloman's comment in relation to, we're aware, and Councillor Farrell, has worked through the public health spectrum. That's why we, a number of years ago, pre-COVID, that the vehicle was set up that had, for emergency vehicle, that had police, mental health, nurse, etc., to enable that wrap around so that the police weren't then left trying
Councillor
to...
Williams.
Somebody... Oh, sorry. Just finish now?
Yeah.
No, okay. Sorry. If anything's not finished, I'll try and remember and respond.
Thank you very much. Okay, so can we vote on the motion, please? All those in favour? That was unanimous. None against, no abstentions. Thank you very much. That was unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, Audit Committee Independent Co-opted Member, Councillor Galley, to propose the motion.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. This is obviously to appoint Mr. David Swift as our co-opted member, our independent co-opted member for the Audit Committee. I referenced earlier, Lady Mayor, the power and importance of our two independent members. We've had two great members over the last couple of years throughout COVID. We sadly lost one due to work commitments, a great contributor to the meetings, and it gives me great pleasure to thank her for that, which was Jill. David, who's hopefully going to be replacing her, has fantastic experience in audit in the NHS. He's also involved with a local authority in Burnley as an independent member, and we feel with his enthusiasm, his knowledge, he'll be a great addition to our team to continue the ambitions that I highlighted on page 38 earlier. So, yeah, happy to move, Lady Mayor.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder? Is it Councillor Williams?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy to second.
Okay. Any councillors to speak on the item? Okay. Don't think you've anything to reply to. Would you want to? No. Okay. So, can we vote on that motion, please? All in favour? So that was unanimous. No abstentions. No against. Thank you. Okay, so notice the motion in the name of Councillor Owen, Blackpool Football Club and Football Governance.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do declare again life membership of the Supporters Trust. I don't know how long that gives me.
No longer.
Blackpool FC and Blackpool BC. The extent to which both organisations need the other can be debated. But independence, cooperation, collegiality are vital to any community. And to a greater or lesser extent, cultural institutions are part of the warp and weft of the good society. Matthew Jones, in his recently published book about the 2011 campaign season, which ended in the Wembley triumph, writes, "There were times when it wasn't clear if Black would have a viable football club for much longer. It is one of the reasons why we should take much more care over who runs clubs and how they do it. They're a thing that binds people together. That matters as much as promotion or relegation, or at least it should. Promotion and relegation are temporary. The place, the connections the club gives are far more permanent. Fans from Bury to Derby, from Wigan to Portsmouth, from Darling to Birmingham and Leeds have watched powerlessly as their clubs have fallen into the abyss or teetered on the edge. Their experiences have all come together in the findings of the fan-led review of the governance of football. It's itself a remarkable exercise in public consultation, led by Tracy Crouch, a Conservative MP, herself a coach and a referee. It brought together folk from far and wide. Over 20,000 of us completed a questionnaire. Supporters' trusts from all over the country put in their findings. The little group from Blackpool put together a remarkable analysis of football's problems and were examined on their proposals in the House of Commons. The published review document, nearly 200 pages in length, represents a landmark in the future of our national game. Its 10 strategic recommendations can be summarised as to ensure long-term sustainability of the game. The government, to do so, should establish a new independent regulator to oversee financial regulation, new owners and directors tests, a new approach to corporate governance, supporters to be properly consulted over key club decisions, protection for each club's heritage, fair distribution of the wealth in football. Wealth in football. Our game depends on a vital pyramid, not just through the 8 leagues below the Premiership. Professional footballers begin as schoolboys. The lower leagues now need financial help from the cash which pours into the top division. Deloitte accountants reckoned that in 2020, broadcast rights gave the Premiership £2,340 million. Only 16% of that goes to the lower divisions, 374 million. And if 10% of transfer fees were levied, there'd be an addition to the pot of £745 million a year for distribution annually within the game. Parachute payments are another unfair distortion of the market. Nadine Dorries, as Secretary of State, welcomed those findings on the 25th of November and endorsed them in principle. A more thoughtful piece followed on the 25th of April, when Nigel Huddleston, her deputy, gave the government's considered statement on the review. He seems to have accepted the 10 strategic points of the review's recommendations for regulation, but he ignored the other 37. It's a package. To legislate for part only of it would dilute the whole thrust of what the review wants to see happen. The Queen's speech contained the line, "Proposals will be published to establish an independent regulator of English football." So far, so good, Madam Mayor. But when the game is crying out for action, there is goodwill in all sides in Parliament for legislation, but the Premiership are lobbying hard behind the scenes. They won't go quietly. The Queen's speech promises only a white paper. A bill is not yet on the horizon. The motion tries to bring all these issues together. I do hope we can ourselves show a united front and tell all who matter in football that real change can't come soon enough. I move, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor, and I will be formally seconding that motion. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Mitchell, Bradley.
One thing that puzzles me slightly about the council's support for Blackpool Football Club is which logos go on which top. Someone might shoot me down in a minute, and that's fine. But the tourism arm of Blackpool Council, Visit Blackpool, goes on the home kit. predominantly used at Bloomfield Road, watched by Blackpool supporters and residents, with a small number of away fans that have already travelled here, seeing Visit Blackpool. And the Get Vocal logo, a Blackpool-focused mental health campaign, goes on the away kit, where it is watched by a small number of travelling fans and a lot of out-of-town fans. I don't know if it's worth swapping them around going forwards and having to think about that. And I'd also want to know what the cost to the council of the sponsorships is. On to the fan-led review, which is very welcome. There's a couple of points in the motion I'd like to...
I don't know if that's actually relevant to the motion, the cost of the sponsorship deal, actually. I don't think that's relevant to the motion.
Fine.
It's a contractual issue, isn't it?
If someone could provide it, it'd be lovely.
I'm sure somebody will do.
I think it is unnecessary to say that we are disappointed with the Premier League for not agreeing to these terms yet, or the government for that matter. And it's important to remember that football is not really an unstable financially as it is often made out to be. Football clubs are amongst the most resilient businesses ever created. There are a tiny number of professional clubs that have ceased to operate in the past 100 years. I know you mentioned a few that are teetering on the edge, but most of them are still going. And ultimately, the money being talked about being redistributed is brought in by the Premier League and the TV deal that generates. It's also a myth that only the Premier League can make money. The Championship is the 6th highest revenue of any league in Europe. Having said that, Nigel Huddleston and the government have called on the Premier League to come to a deal sooner rather than later, and have threatened the Premier League. Sorry.
Excuse me.
What? And have threatened the Premier League with a regime being imposed on them if they don't come to a deal. I also think, if you'd taken the time to have a look, you would have seen both Blackpool MPs have been engaging with the fan-led review, and any calls for them to engage further is completely unnecessary.
Thank you. Councillor O'Hara.
Yeah, I have to disagree with most of what the Councillor Mitchell's just said. I think it's an excellent motion, and I think it's important that clubs are forced to be run well. I mean, it's a shame Councillor Galley can't run them, because I don't think they'd ever go into deep debt and go out of business. Because I mean, as you know, I support Burnley, and we've been taken over by an American that the previous board worked hard not to go in debt. Immediately he took over, we were £75 million in debt. And I think this motion is an excellent motion, because that should not be allowed. And the fact that the top 6 clubs in the Premier League tend to donate where the money go, along with Sky, which makes me say that this is an excellent motion, and I think we should support it.
Thank you. Councillor Martin Mitchell.
Thank you. I applaud the words of the last speaker. I particularly applaud the work of Blackpool Sports Trust over many years, and what have they had to put up with over many, many years, and this council hasn't always supported that trust in the way that we should have done. And I do condemn the government delays. I do have a question to ask, though, to Councillor Owen. This motion resolves on the Chief Executive to write to Nigel Huddleston MP in the hope that the white paper can be published sooner than this summer. Forgive me if I made a mistake, aren't we in the summer now, and don't the words have to be adjusted?
Okay, Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not going to get up and say that I know anything about football. Obviously, I'm Scottish. We're a bit rubbish at that, usually. And I don't, you know, it's got nothing to do with football, this. So a lot of this, I'm going to be honest, is going over my head, but I defer to Councillor Owen. I'm sure he knows what he's talking about. Just to explain really about the T-shirts, because the match shirts, whatever you call them. Football shirts.
Football shirts.
You can tell I know nothing about football. I did actually ask that question at the time, and it was explained to me by the football club as well as our officers that most people tend to just buy one T-shirt, and they tend to buy the home shirt. So if they are going away, they're unlikely to wear the away shirt. Some people do, but I think you'll find that they sell more home shirts than away shirts. So it was about, they were going away and they were advertising Visit Blackpool. So that was it fairly simply. And I'm sure you're right, maybe it should have been the other way about. but it seems to work. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Williams, and then I've got Councillor Coleman, sorry. Yourself, was it? Did you indicate? Sorry.
Lynn's got her hand up as well.
No, she hasn't.
I've been involved with some of the problems early on in Blackpool with the previous owners, and it was a nightmare. And I learned things behind the curtains, if you like, that people didn't know some of the goings on. It was absolutely disgraceful. And that scenario has been repeated throughout the UK recently, and it's even happening in Europe in football there. And we have to put a stop to it. It's a sport, but it's been treated like a business because businesses are the way that sport is being run. But we have no problems in supporting Blackpool Football Club. Never have, never will. So if this is good for Blackpool Football Club, and as my colleague said across the chamber, I'm sure David Owen knows exactly what he's talking about. He's been a fan for years. We're happy to support it.
Thank you. Councillor Gary Coleman.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. As a season ticket holder at Blackpool and Leeds United, no wonder I look depressed most of the time. It's not just the football club, it's the whole community that's involved with the football club. In Blackpool, we have an award-winning community outreach within the football club, and a lot of teams in the Football League do. And it's vital that they're supported financially to do the great work that they do. Sometimes it's an unseen work that they do out there, and you don't know about it unless you're actually involved in it, but it's excellent work. We've got football clubs, I think, mentioned Councillor Owen, Bury, Macclesfield, etc., that have now gone, long histories of being involved in the community. Family generations supported the clubs. Football is not a business as most other businesses. It's a family thing, it's a generational thing, and it's vital that we support the lower divisions. And we are, I think somebody mentioned, we're privileged in England to have so many divisions of football that you can go down to the 6th level and you're still getting 3,000 or 4,000 at some of the games. You can go to Lancaster City and there's about 200 there. But to Lancaster City, it's a vital resource for the people that work there, and it's vital for the towns that they're in. Further to that, we need to make this unanimous. We all want to wish Michael Appleton a great success at Blackpool Football Club and his team, and I think we've all previously commended Simon Sadler and his team for the wonderful work they've done here, and we just hope that it continues in the successful direction of travel that it's been going for the last few years. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor Williams, did you want to speak?
Thank you. Well, I kind of lost my moment, really, because it was just following on from what Councillor Campbell has said in relation to Councillor Mitchell's point about the shirts. Because actually, because of our famous colour, most away games are in tangerine, aren't they? So you know, and it also, just following on from what Councillor Coleman has said, I think it is important, and you know, the football club has an incredibly important role to play within the town, and you know, of all the things that everybody else has said about that importance, but just touching upon the community trust, all the good work that they do, kicks out in the football, all of that support and integrated, and I think long may that continue, and obviously to support the football club in all the work that they do. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further speakers? Okay, so we should go to the vote and all in favour. Oh, right, to reply. Do apologise, right, charging on it.
I don't think I've got much to say in response, put the button on. There seems to be, well, I think it's likely to be unanimous approval of the motion. Councillor Williams did say it's a sport. I disagree, it's more than a sport. It's very much part of the fabric of our nation. Football, the rules of football were invented in the north, levelling up before it became a household word. And it's very much part of British culture, and it's that which we're concerned about. And it's fine having international players. Why we can't have a limit of 5 in the national in any club side, more than no more than 5 internationals. I don't know. That's another issue altogether. But clearly, this is a major issue, and I can only congratulate the Conservative party in Westminster for the way they've responded to this. The debate that followed Huckleston's statement is exemplary from both sides of the house. Everybody accepts the need for very strong regulation. I think the challenge in the months ahead is to make sure that the Premier League don't take the day, because they're desperately trying to pull the rug from under the carpet of whatever white paper comes out and whatever the legislation might be. It mustn't be allowed to happen. We are at a crossroads here. International finance in the game is fine, but it's got to be tightly controlled, and we in it as football supporters have also got a part to play.
Thank you very much. If we move to the vote, all in favour of the motion?
Unanimous, Madam Mayor.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, and item 10, motion in the name of Councillor Martin Mitchell. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's unfortunate I have to bring this motion. It's many years since paid councillor directorships were introduced. Paid councillor directorships are a means of remuneration and also a source of patronage. They're of course appointed by the leader, who also has the power to terminate appointments. It's not just a theoretical power. There was one occasion when one councillor had his directorship ended and as his income reduced, on the same day he'd said something to which a leader took objection. Well, the subject of discussion was nothing to do with any of the council companies. In my own case, I did serve as a director of some of these companies. At exactly the time paid directorships were introduced, I was removed as a director, and I've not been a director of any of these companies since. Anyway.
Councillor Mitchell,
Yeah.
I'm afraid you're veering off, because this isn't
I
what
will
you're
come
saying
right
is not directed to it's under discussion. You're not talking about the motion.
I will come right back to the point. I was trying to illustrate the need for transparency. Everybody should be able to see who's a director, how much they get paid, and that was the context in which those remarks were made. If somebody's position is just dependent on a particular person and how well they get on the leader, it's not a good thing. Now, I'm sure we were told that the events I referred to were in the past and they won't happen now or they won't happen again. The point of the motion is to ensure transparency, that we know who has which position, how much they get paid. If anybody leaves their position, at least we'll know about it straight away. There are ways in which we can try to find out who holds these positions. We can go through the company's websites. We can look at councillors' registers of interest. Some councillors don't always update their interests on time. There's sometimes a contradiction between the information held at the company's house and the information held on councillors' registers of interest. It can be difficult to find out who's chairman of the council company. Why, in any case, should anyone seeking to find out this basic information have to go the long way round? What we are asking for is a simple, straightforward summary of who has which positions, who are the chairs, and councillors to be notified when appointments change.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second, Lady Mayor, please, and respectfully reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Okay, if we go to the debate, have we got any speakers? Councillor Cross, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just with regards to the remuneration, I have no problem telling people that I earn £5,000 a year for 40 hours worth of work a month. I have absolutely zero problem with that, and it is on my register of interest, just so you know, Councillor Mitchell. But what I would say is I've been a victim of exactly the same scenario, as you know, Councillor Mitchell, and you will also know that leader is no longer in place, I am happy to say. And I'm also happy to say that we're in a position that we are quite...
You're not speaking to the motion, Councillor Cross.
Oh, well, sorry, the motion is about whether we can have remuneration listed. Fine. Is that not correct?
Yeah, but you're veering off topic.
That we've raised the issue of... Is that not?
No, because
so even though we've raised it under part of the motion, I can't respond to it.
Yeah, you can respond to it, but you're veering off topic by mentioning other individuals.
Okay. Okay. So I'll take that under consideration. That's absolutely fine. But going back to Councillor Mitchell's motion, quite happy to support it, in fact. Quite happy to have our remuneration out there for people to see. Quite happy to say to people that we do have our remuneration out there for all those to see. It is on our declarations of interest, it is on Companies House, and it is on all of the business pages, so I have no problem with it whatsoever. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Taylor.
Yes, first of all, could I say, I mean, I find this motion puzzling because it's all laid down in the various documents, including registration of interest and so forth. I can't imagine anybody would have very much of a problem finding out this information that we're talking about. But could I just take the opportunity out as chair of the shareholder committee to say how valuable our non-executive directors are, not just the council members, but the others as well. They bring a huge expertise, and I have conversations every other day, which people tell me of an input that's come from somebody who's been in the business for years and is prepared to come and work for one of our companies for very little cash. And I think I want to express my appreciation for that. It's a great value. But I think I'm with Councillor Cross on this. Look, for God's sake, always looking for trouble, always looking for a problem. If it's helpful to make it even more transparent, if it needs it, then we'll vote for it. Yeah, let's have a go. Let's make it even more transparent. It's already pretty transparent. We'll make it even more transparent if people feel that's helpful. But don't use it, please, as a method of attacking good people who are working hard in our companies for us.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say, I've been on a couple of our boards, you know, I've been put on recently onto the Design Council. What I want to say is, all this information is on Companies House, and it goes back from when the company was formed. So it can go back when someone's joined or resigned, or even then joined again. It's a history on Companies House. You can even download an app and have a look on it yourself. You can follow an audit trail on there, so you can go to all our companies. On Companies House, you also have a record of the accounts submitted as well, so you can look on there as well. So all the details of all our companies is a legal register on Companies House. So I'm quite happy for it to be a link on the website, the Blackpool Council website, which directs people directly to Companies House, because that could be changed quite quickly. Because as soon as we join a company, we have to then register with Companies House. So that could be, that's very fluid. You know, sometimes the website might not be updated quickly, but as long as there's a link from the council website that takes you directly there, and with the allowances all declared on Blackpool Council website. So no one's hiding nothing here, but it's all available. But if it makes it easier, I'm in favour of making transparency better. Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Williams-Lynn. Sorry, please.
Thank you. It was just to add, Madam Mayor, that there had already been some discussions, which is one of the things that Councillor Taylor had mentioned, the really good work that goes on by the non-executive directors and all of the companies. So there was already discussions around whether that was a separate page or a link page, and I suppose it ties together having all that information that's mentioned in the motion, so that brings it all together, the information that's already out there, but brings it all in one place. I have no objection to the motion.
Okay, Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'd just like to say we should be all about transparency. We're elected by the public. We take money from the public purse. If this makes it easier for the public to see what's going on in one particular place, then we should all be voting for it. Anybody who doesn't vote for it has got something to hide. So, you know, I don't know what all the arguments are about. You know, in my view, it should be just voted for.
Councillor Clapham.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, as the third person on the Shareholders Committee, I must agree with Councillor Williams and Taylor that the directors that do the work for our wholly owned companies do a brilliant job. Whatever the remuneration is, I don't know, I've never asked, I've never been interested, but the work that they do for our companies to operate is fantastic. I agree with this notice of motion tonight because it simplifies the open governance that we should promote. And if you can go to one single site to find the information on our walks, who the directors are, etc., when they've resigned, sacked, whatever happens to them, so be it. It should be there. You shouldn't need to search through everything like you do on the internet and get nowhere. So I support it fully.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Okay. Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I did have quite a bit more to say, but I'm not going to because most of it's been said. I'm pleased to say, and it looks like this is going to go through for Councillor Mitchell. Yes, we do want everything in one place, so the general public can have a look. We're quite au fait with going in and delving into websites and finding things maybe. Well, the general public aren't, so it's going to be very handy for the public to see who does what. I was a cabinet member once. I did a couple of years. Well, I did about 10 years in those 2 years. It was that busy. And I know how difficult it is to be a cabinet member. It takes over your life sometimes, so we're not having a go at that. Fantastic, those of you that are on the front bench. Great, do your work, and you do it well. But it has been used on occasion as for political expediency and such like, and obviously we don't want that. We want everything to be in the open. And so obviously it seems like we're going to have a united front here. We won't delve any further into, like I said, I had a lot more to say, and I'm not going to say it because it seems that we, again, pleasingly, we seem to be all in the same boat this evening, Lady Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Reply, Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I won't compete with Councillor Keller, for God's sake. We've actually had these pay directions for 7 years, so we're not bringing this forward too quickly. And I'm glad others have made the point that you do have to go through several documents to find the information, and not everybody can do that. I certainly haven't been able to find out the remuneration myself, so other people will have difficulty with that also. Also have difficulty in finding out who's chair of the particular company. So it's not a case of everything being there and easy to obtain. And I do apologise for leading Councillor Cross down the wrong track and referring to the member for Devon.
Thank you. So, lost my thread now. So, go to the vote. Can we vote on that motion, please? Oh, all those in favour. Do you know, I'm melting up here. Yes, I know. Sorry. Okay, can we go to the vote, please?
All those in favour.
All those in favour? Okay, any against? No abstentions? Okay, thank you. That was carried unanimously. I don't know with it here. I feel like I'm melting. Right? I was just taking over with this bloody crappy joke. Yeah. I've no idea, but I keep saying, what time is it? Business of the meeting. Thank you very much. It's been a very interesting debate. It's been a long night, but that's democracy. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sat there.